Okay, I'm going to go live now. Hey folks, welcome to another stream. I know it's been like a few weeks since we last did one of these. I've just been super busy with work and wrapping up some other projects. If you're interested as well, I've recently finished up a bit of a course with Futurely. Let me just load this one up here, called Futurely Plus. So this is teaching a little bit of geometry nodes and things like that within Blender. I know I haven't really done too much content on the new geometry node stuff. This might just take a sec for me to load here. Basically, if you search Futurely Plus, then you should be able to find it's like a little bit of a subscription course. It teaches you Maya and Grasshopper for Rhino, as well as Blender. And I've been doing some geometry node stuff on there. In today's session, we're going to be having a look at the visual scripting add-on called Serpens. There's been a new release for this recently, and we're joined by its creator, Joshua. So if you want to introduce yourself, Josh.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Joshua. I made this add-on. I've been working with Blender for a couple of years. Actually a pretty long time, but kind of doing a lot more scripting now than actual art. So I've been working on some add-ons, now this one. And yeah, as you said, we just released a pretty big update, so that's version 3.0. And the idea behind Serpens is basically to let people that don't know how to script or only know very little about scripting to create their own Blender add-ons, and like real Blender add-ons, so you can create them with nodes and then export them as a zip file and have other people install them that don't need to have Serpens, so you can go ahead and sell your add-ons, or distribute them however you want. And I think we're going to be doing some geometry nodes related Serpens add-ons and some of the new features today.
So you've got some pretty comprehensive documentation as well, which is linked through from both the add-on itself, but there's also the link from the store page. And if anybody's interested in picking it up, there's the Blender Market link in the description, and there's also a Gumroad link with a 30% discount for the stream. You'll also find that in the description below. So I've gone ahead and installed this. Josh, you all right to see my screen? Is everything showing up?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
Nice. So I've just installed this. It's like a standard add-on, just a zip file. And I'm just in the visual scripting editor here. So what's the first add-on that we're going to be working on today?
Yeah, so I think we're going to be doing like a little packaging up of some geometry nodes groups. So yeah, if you like have some groups and you want to add it to a menu, and basically package them as an add-on for people to install, then yeah, you can do that with Serpens, and I think that's the first thing we'll try.
Nice. So
but maybe before that we can just go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there anything that we need before we start working with Serpens? Like, do we need our node groups in a separate file, or what's going on with the data structure there?
Yeah, so basically what we'll do is we have a separate Blender file with our node groups in it, and then when the user presses the button that we want to add the node group with, we append it from that file into whatever our current file is, and then add the node to the graph, to the geometry nodes graph, and yeah, plug in the node group there. So if you have a separate file with some node groups in it, then we can use that.
I will just add some. Doesn't look like I've got my ETK on here. Oh, it's just disabled. I'm just going to use some of these ones, and I'll save off a separate file with them.
Sounds good.
So I'll just do these four. Do they need to be in a specific? Do they want to be in this node graph in any specific way? Does the node graph need naming? Do we need to think about that?
No, really, just when you think about what the add-on does, it's basically what you would do manually just automate it. So we'll like go in and append it from the file, and it doesn't matter like where it is. It just needs to be in the file.
Sure. Let me see this one
Yeah.
out here.
So this is perfectly fine. Yeah.
Just waiting for Blender to uncrash. That's the issue with the. I always find the file viewers when you have different hard drives. It takes so long to load things. Let's go in here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just making a file called node groups, and that's got this one. And then I need a new file, do I, for using to create the add-on in.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and do this then.
Perfect. Yeah. So maybe just quickly for the interface. So you see the tutorial button at the top. That would walk you through it as well if you want to press that maybe. So that actually shows you like a little tutorial in the editor, and you can press the next button here to go through like some introductory stuff for Serpens. Yeah, so that would be just like a quick introduction, and then we have the full documentation as well. But yeah, I think we'll just I'll tell you the basics.
This is such a nice way
today, so
such a nice way to like onboard people into using your add-on. I don't think I've seen anybody else doing this. I really like that.
Yeah.
How do I how do I close out of the?
Just just delete the node, then it will go away.
That's crazy. Nice.
Yeah, so for Serpens in general, if you just press the N key to open the panel, the N panel, and go to the Serpens tab, then you get a bunch of options down there. So yeah, basically this blend file is your add-on, and in that blend file you can create multiple node trees, and each of these node trees will be part of your add-on. Yeah, we'll just work with one for now, but yeah, great idea to save your file, because you know when you're coding, it's possible to break Blender, so it might crash, and live demonstrations always go wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but we'll just work in one node tree for now, so this is perfectly fine. But we can add variables, properties, and so on in here. We'll probably get to that a little bit later on. And yeah, exactly. We want to work with assets for this add-on. So an asset is basically something like images, a blend file, or something like that, which you want to package into the zip file of your add-on. So when you share the add-on with others, they will get those files as well. And yeah, this is where you add those. So if you just press the plus button for the assets on the right there, yeah, that adds an asset node. We'll need that in a second. Yeah, we want to add a file, and yeah, just press OK and select the blend file for the node groups here. And then you can select that in the asset node there, or just press the add node button again.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and that gets you the path to that asset file. So while you're developing, meaning while you're working in this blend file, this path will be basically the path to the file locally. So whatever you selected there on the right, and when it's exported, it will be the path of the user that installed the add-on. So yeah, that's what the asset nodes are doing for you.
So
we can just as a starting point.
When you export your add-on, does it pack all of these assets into the zip file, so you don't need to worry about where they're actually located on your computer while you're working on them? They'll all get wrapped up together?
Exactly, yeah.
Nice.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so we can just basically, as a first thing we can do with nodes, display this path just in the interface somewhere. So we can say we want to create a new panel, or we can just say we want to add it to an existing panel.
Mhm.
So yeah, let's do that. And for that, if you press Shift A, we have a bunch of interface nodes. So under interface, we have a whole bunch, and right at the top there you see add to panel. So that's the first one we can use. And on this panel you can see this eyedropper button.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just click that,
Oh wow.
then you will see basically everywhere in the Blender interface where you can add to your existing UI. You can select that spot. So every panel in Blender you can add to. Yeah, so you can just select any location here, and then we can keep plugging in nodes to our add to panel. So we have these yellow diamond sockets, and those are interface sockets. And basically interface sockets are like, we have two types of programming sockets. One is for interface, one is for actual programming stuff, so like operations that run in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And the yellow ones are the interface sockets.
Okay.
So if you grab a label node, yeah, so
Is this under the interface?
that's also on the
Label.
interface, but you can, yeah, but you can just search for it. It's quicker. Yep, and if you just plug the yellow output from the panel, add to panel, into the label, then you will see that label appear on the right there in the panel that you picked.
Oh,
and
nice.
you can
Yeah.
just enter different text here. It will show it right here.
So if this joins up, is that kind of
And yeah, you can take the path.
nice?
So that will display the path of that blend file that you chose.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so this is basically how you work with Serpens for the interface. So you either pick a spot in the existing Blender UI that you want to add to, or
Mhm.
you create something new, like a new panel somewhere, or new menu or pie menu, and then you add stuff to it to display in there.
Nice. This actually seems way easier
Right.
than I was expecting, especially for interface things. I feel like people always say that doing UI development in Blender is just really complex, but this makes it seem so much simpler.
Yeah. I think maybe UI is probably the strongest part of Serpens. Like when you work with programming, it's always like for some things code is just nicer. It's just like more concise. But it's of course like a lot more abstract, and you have to know all the syntax and stuff. So in a lot of cases, it's still easier to do just with a couple of nodes. But I think for interface especially, Serpens just takes a lot of the painful Blender API stuff away from you. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so I guess at this point we can basically decide like what we want our add-on to look like. Like
Mhm.
if you want to add it to the Shift A menu for geometry nodes, or if you want to add it to some panel somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Like what's your
So-
preference?
How I think having it in the add menu in geometry nodes makes sense, because it's where you're already going to go for your nodes. So how would you
Yeah.
use this? How would you target that add menu?
Right, so the add to panel node lets you add to panels in Blender,
Mhm.
but we also have an add to menu node to add to a menu. So yeah, we want to use that node, and yeah, you can get rid of the add to panel node, I guess. And just yeah, basically plug that the label in there, and then if you press the eyedropper button again, then you will get all the menu locations in Blender,
Okay.
and also at the bottom here you see that spot.
So they
you can
appear on
press
the
that,
header bars
and
as
it will
well.
add it to this menu. Yeah, so yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a bit different. We just don't have a separate add to header node, but yeah.
Oh, nice. There we go.
So we probably want to actually add another menu in this menu, because we want it to like drop down from here. We don't want to just put buttons in here.
Yeah.
So we now want to create a custom menu. So for that we have a menu node, so you can just drop that in. Just either plug the label in there now or create a button node, because we're going to need some buttons to actually add our nodes later on.
Oh, so do we need buttons inside the menu?
Right, so every option you see inside one of those add menus is a button that you press, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can just hook that up to the menu node, and so the menu node and not the add to menu node. And we'll see what that does in a second, but yeah. So this menu right now basically just exists in Blender, and we don't really have a way of showing it. And there's a couple of different options in how to show a menu. So we could use like a shortcut to show it, or we can add it to the UI somehow. So for that we want a submenu node, and that lets us put our menu inside the other menu, which is what we're trying to do. So on our submenu node, you see the two drop downs here. So the first one is to pick the node tree. So because you can create multiple node trees in your file, you have to pick which node tree the menu node is coming from.
Sure.
And then in the second drop down, you can pick this menu node you just created. Yep. And then we can hook that one up to our add to menu node instead of that label.
Ah, so can this only have one
just get
being plugged in?
Yeah, exactly. So we have data and program sockets. So the diamond sockets are the programming sockets, and the round or square sockets are data sockets. And data sockets can, just like in geometry nodes or any other editor, can go in like multiple directions.
Oh, okay.
But basically the same as with like shader nodes, where you can only plug one shader into one shader input. This is kind of the same, just in the other direction, I guess.
Yeah, I got you.
Like this program has to basically run step by step from left to right, so you can only plug in one thing after the other. And if you wanted to add more to your menu, you could take the second output on the menu node. So you see this like transparent socket, and you can just drag that out and hook it up to something else, and then create a new socket for you. I can press the plus button. But yeah, this way you can create more items in your menu.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, so you should now see your menu inside the geometry nodes add menu, or right now in any add menu, but yeah, there you go.
Nice.
So yeah, that's your perfect. Yeah, so on the submenu node we can also enter a label.
Do I need to do something to trigger an update on that?
Right, so the label on the menu node won't show up in this case, because there's a separate label input on the submenu node. But if you were to trigger this menu with a shortcut, then it would show this label. So basically on the submenu node below, and just paste in the same label.
Oh, so that's on on this submenu node. Sorry.
That's a button, right?
Yeah. I see.
Yeah, so this is the submenu node that is actually displaying this menu with your buttons in it. So you would add more buttons to this menu, which would then add different node groups. It's a lot of nodes with menu in the name.
Yeah. So you'd have multiple different buttons within that list. That one is 2, and then this comes in. Nice. This makes me want to make so many add-ons now.
Perfect. That's a go.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So now we basically have our interface mostly done. Right now, this menu still appears in all the node editors, so not just the geometry nodes editor, but we can do that later on or now. Your choice, I guess.
Sure.
It's either working with some Blender data now or appending the file. So whatever you want.
Should we do it now to make sure it's filtered to just the correct node editor?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so this is kind of probably the most complex topic in kind of working with add-ons with Blender, because there's a lot of data in a blend file, and you have to kind of filter through that data to kind of find the thing you're looking for. And there's some concepts that you basically need to understand to work with that. But what we can do, just to like show how data works, is to let's just drop in an add to panel node just to show to show something in the interface.
There we go.
And then if you maybe create an object, some object, and maybe add a geometry nodes modifier to it. So actually in your viewport, not normal in the object,
Okay.
Right, and then maybe we can add an input to that geometry nodes group. So just some like placeholder.
Oh no, I just got the your Zoom Pro license thing. We might have to hang up and restart the call in just a sec.
Yeah, I think it says 10 minutes.
Yeah. I thought it would work. All right. Okay, let's just carry on with this bit and then we can sort out Zoom in a moment. So I've got that input now on the geometry nodes modifier.
Right. Yeah, so you basically have a property on this geometry nodes modifier. So what you can do with Serpens is right-click that property.
Oh.
And you see at the bottom this get Serpens property option. So if you just click that, then this will copy the data path to that property. So you don't really need to know what that means, but it's basically telling Serpens where that property lives in Blender. So if you add in a Blender property node now, and you see this paste button on here, so we just copied the property and now we can paste it in. So yeah, you get a bunch of inputs that get created on that node. So first on the inputs, you have the objects input, which says cube, because that's the object you copied the property from. So your modifier is on the object cube. And you could type in a name for a different object here and would try to get that modifier from some other object. But right now we just have the cube. So that's the one we're working with. And on the right side of that input, you see this little drop down. And you can switch that to index or to, on the input, and you can switch that to index or to property. So right now we're getting an object by its name. So we're telling Serpens we want the object with the name cube, but we could switch that to index. And then we can tell Serpens we want the first object in the blend file or the second one, or something like that. That's not really useful for this case, but And then finally we have the property input, which is what we probably want to use right now, because we want to use whatever our active object is at any point. We don't want to use the object that is named cube. We want whatever object is active right now. So we can switch it to property, and this gives us a blend data input. And this blend data is really like anything that lives in Blender. So I'm actually just noticing it has the same color as geometry nodes, mesh sockets, but it has nothing to do with that. I guess one blend data thing is meshes, but this really accepts like any type of blend data. So this could be like an object, a material, a texture, anything.
Sure.
Right now it's an object. So in here you could plug like whatever object you want, and we have an objects node where you could do something like go through every object and do something for that. Yes, someone there you go. So text output where you can also like basically do the same thing as you did on that socket with that drop down. But we also have these square sockets here, which would give us like a list of all selected objects, of all objects, or something like that.
Sure.
But right now, let's just use the active object because we know that's the object our modifier is on. And you see this using active in brackets behind objects. So that's basically just a default for the socket. So you don't actually need to plug in anything in there because it's using the active object by default.
Sure.
So that's just a thing we have for some blend data because it's being used a lot. And it just makes sense that most of the time you want to use the active object. So that's the one we're using there.
Nice.
But this would basically be the same thing as if you plugged in the active object from that objects node.
Sure.
Yeah, and then you have some other inputs here. So you have the modifiers input on this node, which tells Serpens like what's the name of the modifier you want to use. And then finally we have this input 2, which is the name of the input. So if you hover over the level input there on the modifier.
Oh yeah, I see. Modifiers.input 2.
Yeah, then in this Python path, this is basically what Serpens is copying, and it shows you where this data lives in Blender. So it says bpy.data, so that's just all the data in Blender, and then objects, and that's just this object named cube, and then on this object we want the modifier named geometry nodes, and on that we want this input. So if you had multiple inputs and you wanted to use a different one here, you could look up the name this way and type in a different one here.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, so
just before we continue,
all of that to say Serpens does. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, should I sort out the Zoom timing things? I can't actually see how much time we've got left on this call.
Yeah, it's 4 minutes.
Okay.
If you want to just do this quick demonstration and then we can switch.
Sure.
Should work. Yeah. Right. So you have in addition to all the inputs to basically choose where your data is coming from, you have 2 outputs on your node. So again, you have like one of these teal outputs, which is Blender data, and then you have this value output. So in this case, you actually need to tell Serpens what type of data you're outputting, which is an integer, because that's like the level input is an integer. So you just need to switch that to integer. For a lot of properties, Serpens does this automatically. Geometry nodes just doesn't work in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now you have this Blender data output, which is the actual data, and then you have the value output, which is just that number. So right now it would be 1, and you could change that. But we can now, on our add to panel node, plug in just a label, and then attach the value input to that to just see that value change. So if you just add in a label here, and then just the integer output here into the label, then you see that level, and you could change that level on the node, and it updates that label.
Nice.
So what we can do now is we can actually display this property somewhere else. So we're using the value output right now, and that's, as I said, just that number, but we can use the actual Blender data to display the same input that we see on the node. So we have a display property node for that, so you can just add that in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then just plug that into your add to panel as well. And then you want to take the blend data output and plug that into the property. Yep. And that will show you the actual input that you see on the node as well.
Oh,
so you could change this one, and it will change on the node. So you could do something like create a separate interface for your geometry nodes modifiers. So something that I think like Curtis Holt's add-on is doing, like bygen, where it's adding a bunch of like geometry nodes modifiers, and then it's displaying like some of the inputs to make them nicer to work with.
Nice.
So yeah, you could do things like that, but yeah, that's basically just a short introduction to like how we work with Blender data.
It makes so much.
And we'll need that in a second to basic.
I was just going to say, it makes so much sense. Like seeing it in this way, from I guess because I'm so used to nodes, but like I can actually kind of follow the data and what's actually going on and visualize it in a flow graph way. That like works a lot better for my head than whenever I've tried to like code stuff, and I just like get so bogged down so quickly with not really understanding what I'm actually doing.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of the idea, and we for the 3.0 update we like redesigned how this Blender data works in Serpens, and it's become a lot easier, I think. But that said, we have a minute left on the Zoom call, so should probably find a.
Let me see if I can sort this. I might just be able to get a pro license. Let me just get my. Okay, I'm still streaming. I've just dropped it off my screen on YouTube, just in case I have to put in bank info. Okay, turns out that Zoom Pro is very expensive. Let me just make a new call here. Bear with me, folks. I might actually sort out, maybe I can do it with Google Hangouts. How about Discord? The only reason I'm not using Discord is because do you know what, maybe I'll just try Discord. I've had so much trouble with Discord being just super laggy on calls since I upgraded to Windows 11. I'll try it for, I'll do Discord for now. Hold on, I just need to sort out my Discord. There we go, that might work. Can I hear you?
I can hear you now.
Nice. Okay, great. Let me share my screen with you again. All right, can you see that all right?
Yep.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, so we were just basically displaying this property somewhere else in Blender. So we got this property by right-clicking it and copying it, and that's one of the two ways to get data with Serpens. So basically, the problem is that you can't right-click all data in Blender. Like most data you can, at least most of the stuff you want to work with. but there's some things that's just kind of hidden inside, like in the depth of Blender, and it's not really displayed in the UI.
Yeah.
So we need a different way of accessing this data. And for that, we added the Blend Data browser, which you can get to with this Blend Data button in the Serpens header, and it should open a new window somewhere.
Oh, it has. Oh,
I don't know if it's not showing up on my
Let me change it
screen.
over
I don't
to
know if it's
screen. There we go. I think I was just showing Blender.
oh god. All right, yeah. So basically, what you're seeing here, like this, may look like a bit overwhelming, is all the data in your blend file. So on the left side, you see the source option, and you can switch between app, context, and data. And if you just switch over to data, that's probably the most obvious one. You see a list of all the data that lives inside the blend file. So you have things like all the cameras, the objects, the scenes, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this basically works like a file browser, just kind of a bit of a different layout. So you can kind of, as you're doing right now, navigate through the objects. And if you just keep going, you're probably going to find the same option we just copied.
The inputs.
Yeah, inputs, and then level is what we copied. So on the right of any input, you see the reload button and the copy button. And this copy button is the same we got with right click. And actually in the bottom left, you can turn on show path, like all the way in the bottom left of the browser, and then it will actually show you the data path if you're interested in that.
Nice.
And this should be the same one we copied with right click here.
Mm-hmm.
And if we did that and pasted that into a node, then we would get the same option we got a second ago.
So is there a way
and actually
to...
there's a shortcut for adding this Blender.
Nice.
Sorry? Yeah.
I was going to ask if there was a shortcut for adding.
Yeah, there is. You do that a lot, so we have that. Yeah, it's Shift V. So just
nice.
Shift V, and that should add a Blender property with that pasted in. Right. Yeah, so that adds the exact same node.
So this one
that we had there.
This one picked it by level. The label. Is it a little bit different?
Yeah, so I think it's because you... Right. I guess it's because you copied it from the node tree inputs and not the modifier.
Maybe.
Let me think. I think it's you just copied basically the input of the you see actually the type of the value output. If you look at the socket type of the value output, you see it's also a TL socket, so it's also blend data socket.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically because you copy the property and not the actual input on the node.
Okay, got you.
So we basically have this output of I would assume it's kind of the same, just a bit different. But yeah, we don't need to use it right now, and you can copy it with right click anyway. So so if you can copy it with right click, that's the easier thing to do, because you know like the way it's supposed to be displayed.
Yeah.
All right. So what we want to get is basically the type of a specific editor we're in, right? Because we know our menu is being displayed in all of the node editors, and we only want to display it if the node editor is actually a geometry nodes editor.
Yeah.
So we can get this editor type in the Blend Data browser. So if you just go back to that, you can go to context, and on the left side under source. And basically what context is like the data at the point of your mouse cursor. So wherever your cursor is in Blender, that's the context that you're in right now. So if you're in the 3D view, there's a different context than when you're in the node editor, because any node editor has like an active node tree, for example, and any viewport has like a specific rotation to the camera and that kind of thing. So we have different contexts depending on where your mouse is. And to load data from, we can also use right click. So if you just go into your geometry nodes editor and just basically right click any option in there. I think like if you, yeah, exactly. And then there's a copy context option. So if you just, yeah, right click again somewhere.
Yeah, copy context.
I think you have to right click on a button or like an input. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And then just, yeah, copy context. And go back to the Blend Data browser. Then you will see on the left-hand side where it says source, where it says context, in brackets it says node editor header, because that's where you copy the context from. So I guess in theory there's like a little bit of a difference in the context between like the header and the actual like viewport of the node editor and the end panel and so on. But that's nothing we care about right now. So we can we're good with the.
I can I always disable my right click in node editors.
Oh.
It was because I use Virtual a lot and it has a custom right click. There we go. Hey. So copy context in there.
Yeah, so this one actually doesn't show the option. I think it's only on like inputs and stuff. Yeah.
There's a window. There we go.
Right. So now we have the context from that node editor. And now we can basically get all the data that lives inside this node editor. So at the top there you see, for example, like the active node. If you, I think all the way at the top. So you could get data from whatever the active node is at any point. But if you collapse that again, you also see stuff like the active object. So for example, the active object just exists anywhere in Blender, so not just in the viewport or something, but anywhere. But what we want right now is the node editor type. So there's basically any area in Blender. So that's like the node editor or the viewport or the outliner. That's an area, and inside that area you see there are spaces, and any one of these spaces has data inside it. And we basically want to get something from the space of the node editor, because that's where the node tree is in. I think if we're lucky, we actually can just go over the area, and we just can ignore all that space stuff. So if you can, collapse the spaces again. At the bottom there you see this UI type. And this UI type is basically the type of node editor you're in. So you have two options here. You have the type and the UI type, and type would tell you you're in a node editor, or you're in a viewport, or you're in an outliner, and UI type would tell you you're in a shader node editor or in a geonodes editor.
Oh, okay.
You can copy both of these if you just want to see the difference, I guess. But if you just copy the UI type, that's fine as well.
So if I... There we go.
And then you can close the Blend Data browser. We don't need that anymore for now, at least. Right. So you see now these two nodes actually don't have any inputs. So before on the modifier input we had, or on the modifier option we copied, we had a bunch of inputs, but on these nodes we don't have any. And that's because we went over the active area. So you don't need to tell Serpens like what area to use. It will always use the active area. So whatever your mouse is in at that point, or wherever this code is being run, that's the area it will show it will get the output for.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just why we don't have any inputs on that. And if you would just, I guess, you can get rid of that display property and maybe just hook up a label there, and we can see what the two nodes here give us. Yeah, so maybe one for the type and one for the UI type, and then we can see the difference.
Let me put it in the
and if you press the button, you just need to select some.
How do I unhook?
Yeah, you just need to select some. Just click one of the red buttons and it will go away.
Okay.
Just anyway, it doesn't really matter right now.
Yeah, I just wanted it to go into the header bar of this one, just so we can keep it on display.
Yeah.
Is that possible? So this one. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the add to menu node. Yeah.
Nice.
So add to panel basically like is all the panels, so all these like collapsible things, and menus are all the drop down type things. So then you can see what the UI type shows you.
So scripting node tree is... Oh, so this is going to be based on where my cursor is?
Yep. So this still shows up in all the add to menu geometry node tree. In the scripting nodes, or in the Serpens node tree, you see scripting nodes tree at the top. Yeah, but both of those would say node edit difference between the type and the UI type. They are all node editors, but this one is scripting nodes editor and this one is a geometry nodes editor.
So when my cursor is
all
in
right, so
geometry nodes, oh, it says at the top geometry nodes tree.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so basically this is now the context of this node is now wherever this menu is shown, or this label is being shown. So yeah, explain the context with where your mouse is, because that's kind of like when you're in this node editor area, then all the data is like around this this area. But basically every area has a different context.
Sure.
And if this header is shown in different node editors, then the label will be different for the different types of node editor.
Got it.
All right. So we want our let's just, I guess, make this label only show up in the geometry nodes tree, so we can just work with this add to menu node. And on this add to menu node, you see the hide input. So if you just toggle that checkbox there, then you will see this just go away or show up. But basically, so this is a Boolean input, so either true or false. And we want to make this add to menu show up when we are in a geometry nodes tree and not when we're in any other tree. So for that, we have this value output here, and we basically want to check if that value output is whatever it needs to be for the geometry nodes tree. So we want to compare this string, so this text, which the UI type node is outputting, to another string. So we have a compare node, which I have no idea where it is actually. Probably in the Boolean menu. So you could like check different things. Most of those are for numbers, but we just want to check if this string is equal to another string. So you see on that node, you have two data inputs. So that's any type of data. and then it outputs a Boolean, so either true or false, and it will be true if both inputs are the same. So for the second input, we want just a string, basically whatever this this node says at the top, or the geometry nodes editor says at the top. So we want
capitalization
to say geometry node tree. Yeah, that's important in this case. It needs to be exactly the same. And now you basically see it disappear anywhere. Disappear just in the geometry nodes editor. So yeah, that's you were on the right option there. Just switching that to not equal will tell, like, basically say if this UI type is different from geometry node tree, then hide the add to menu node.
Got it. So can I just plug this in here? And now that's going to filter that. So we don't get it in Serpens, but we do in geometry nodes. Nice.
Right. Yeah, so you could either do that on the menu node or the add to menu node that's actually adding your submenu here. But yeah, I guess it doesn't matter in this case. It will hide it either way. So yeah, that works.
Awesome.
Okay, so yeah, don't do anything yet. Only showing up in the geometry nodes editor. So we now want to kind of, as the first thing, I guess, add in. Well, let's start with appending a node group. I think that's maybe, yeah. Let's start with that. Okay, so now we will create operators. So basically, an operator in Blender is just something that runs code. So whenever you press a button in Blender, just basically any button, that's an operator.
Oh, okay.
So like you have these 4 buttons in the properties panel there for the modifiers, like apply all, delete all, and so on. Like these are all like when you click a button, it will run an operator, and you see in the tooltip the bpy.ops. So that's basically bpy is just like Blender Python, and ops means operator. So any operator is like somewhere under bpy.ops. And you can either run operators that already exist in Blender with Serpens, or you can create your own ones. And because we want to do some custom things, like appending a node group and so on, we need to create our own operator. So yeah, for that we would just add in an operator node and go from there.
So we've got this.
All right.
This one seems like it's got so much more inputs than the others.
It does, yeah. Yeah, so you can do a bunch of things with operators. Like you can add properties to it and so on. You can display different types of pop-ups. You could display like an import panel, so you could like open up a file browser and then let the user select something and then do something with that in your operator. But we're going to like keep it fairly simple for this one and just use the execute output. So this is basically the other type of program socket. So we have the yellow ones for interfaces, and we have the white one for just normal programs. And yeah, now that we have this operator, we can just kind of, for debugging, I guess, add in a print node just to see that it runs when we press a button. So if you just add in a print node, then you can just plug that into the execute output, and it will print whatever is in this string input there. So you can just like put in test or running or something. Right, so now we need a way to run the operator, and one way to do that in Blender is always with the operator search menu. And how would you set the shortcut to? It's F3 for me. Might be spacebar.
Oh yeah, F3.
There you go. Yeah, and then you can just search for the operator name, so just operator. The one we just created. So that's the name you have on your operator there. So if you just search for operator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, then you see this operator. Send is just for Serpens, and then Serpens nodes, and then A is for add-on. So SNA operator is the one we just created. So if you click that, then it will run that operator.
Okay.
And it should print on the node. So
Nice.
you can see running on the node. And another place you can see that is in the console. So this is where you get to feel like a programmer. Yeah, exactly. If you open up the system console, you see running as well. Right. But we have the option to just print on the node, just to make it a little easier to see.
Does this?
And by the way, there's also a console button in the header.
Oh, nice. That's super useful.
Yeah.
Does the print node, does it update?
Just does the same thing.
Will it ever stop saying running, or is it now just? Does it just use the last?
If you basically if Serpens recompiles the add-on, so if you would just I don't know, enter a description for the operator or something, just type in some letters. Oh, I guess not in this case because the print node didn't get updated. Well, but yeah, basically when the operator runs again, it will, right. If the print node refreshes, then it gets updated. It gets updated.
Nice.
But yeah, and otherwise there's also the delete option on there, so you could get rid of that that way. Yeah. Okay, so we now want to actually run this operator by pressing one of those buttons in our add menu. So on the button node we can on the button node we can select this operator we just created. So this paste operator option is basically like the same thing we did for properties, where we right-clicked the property and copied it, and then pasted it in. So for existing Blender operators, like if you wanted to use the options from like the 4 buttons you have in the properties panel, use the same operators there, you could right-click those, copy the operator, just get Serpens operator instead of get Serpens property, and then you can click paste on here, and it will paste in this operator, and then you can basically reuse the same operator that's somewhere else in Blender, but we want to use the custom one we just created. So we can switch the Blender icon, the little drop down on there, to custom, so on the button node. And then again we need to select the node tree which the operator is in, which is already done, and then just select the operator node, and that's it.
Nice.
Now this button will run this operator. So if you go into your menu and press that button, it should print in the node.
Nice. That's all hooked up.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so I guess from here we want to append our node group and then add in the group node to our actual node tree. And yeah, then I guess assign the node group as well. But let's start with appending let's start in with adding in the node. I think that's maybe a little more exciting to see, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
So we basically want to do whatever happens when we press like any other add button in a node in a Shift A menu.
Yeah.
Because all of those add in nodes. So we can just copy the operator from any one of those buttons.
What? Okay.
Yep. And now we actually want to run this operator to add in a node inside our own operator. So if you just add in a run operator node, that's basically the same thing as a button, just inside another program. So just you create a property. Well, I think we actually get to that in a second maybe, but operator node.
So what do I have to paste it into this one? Sorry.
No, you don't have to use the properties right now. So those are something else. But we actually want to, like in our operator, we want to run another operator. So we right now we only have our print node attached, but we also want to run something else afterwards. So we need to add in another node, which is called run operator, to run this operator we just copied.
Okay. And can I just put this in the same?
And there you get another option to. Exactly. And basically it will just run from left to right. So you press the button and that triggers this operator node. And then from there it will just follow basically the white lines to run your program.
Gotcha.
So if you press the button right now, I think either nothing will happen or it will throw you an error.
Nothing at the moment.
So it still prints, but okay, so that's because you're not telling this operator like what node to add. So we want to add in a node group, node group node. So you get the different inputs here on this run operator node. You don't maybe later, but we don't need that yet.
Sure.
But you just need to enable the type input on the run operator node. And that lets you input the name of the node you want to add. So this is kind of the Blender internal Python name for a node. I think it's something like geometry nodes group. But we have a node just to get the Blender name of a node. So I think it's called node ID name. It should be under input. You should just add that in. Just node ID name, and then you can search in this drop-down list here for a specific node. So if you just search for like node group, just type it in. There's a lot of nodes in Blender. Then you should see like group geometry node. Yep. So just select that. And then you can plug in this output into the type input. And that will give you that name you need to add in the node. So if you press the button now in this menu, it should have added in a node somewhere. I think it's like at the center of the editor somewhere. Yeah, there you go. So we probably want to add it in like other nodes where it follows your cursor after you edit it. So that's what the second option on this run operator node is for. So we can just enable use transform and then click the checkbox. And basically what the eye icon does is like when this input is disabled, so when the eye is turned off, then it just uses whatever the default of that node is. And if you turn it on, then you get to choose a value.
Nice.
So that's should be working. Perfect. So we can now add in empty node groups, but of course we want to assign our node group to that, which we still need to append from that file we created earlier. So let's do that next. Exactly. So we need to get a node group from this asset file. So we have a node called append from file, which is it's just an easy way of appending things from Blender files.
Nice.
So we want to append a node group. So yeah.
So a node tree, is that right?
Yeah, node tree.
And then that's the path.
That's right. Of the node group you want to import. So we can just basically put one in there just for testing. So if I don't know if you remember any of the names of the groups, otherwise we'll just have to reopen that file.
Yeah, I might have to. Is there a way to make it search for, like, to find all of the node trees that are in there?
Yes. Let's do that in a second. Let's go step by step, because that's maybe a little confusing, because that's getting into properties and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So if you connect the execute output, then we add in our node, and then we append this node group. So you can just add in another print node after the append from file, just for testing. And just hook up the appended output. So you see this is like a teal output again, so it's blend data.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the whatever you just appended. And if you click the button again now in GeoNodes.
Oh, nice.
Yep, then it shows you like the weird Python name of this geometry nodes tree we just imported, and it should also show up in like it should also be appended. So if you click on the dropdown on the node, you should see it there. Yeah, perfect. So last thing is to actually assign it to that node group, because now we created this node, and we appended the node group, but we still need to assign it.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll use the blend data browser again. And this time our context will be like a little more complicated, at least to think about, but actually, yeah, should be fairly simple. But if you open up the blend data browser again, just with the button and the header there.
Can you see the blend? Oh, is it not showing up in the stream again?
Oh, I probably can't see it. Oh yeah, it was showing. I just go to the stream and we'll have a little bit of a delay. I just trust you to do the right thing.
There we go. It should be updated on Discord now.
Yeah, it's not showing up on Discord. There you go. Now I see it.
Nice.
Perfect. Yeah, so because we just created the node, the geometry nodes node group, we know that will be the active node. So we want to assign this node tree we just appended to the active node.
Yeah.
And for that, we want to get an option on the active node. So we already copied the context from the geometry nodes editor. So we actually see an option for active node at the top there. But it says in brackets group input, because whatever, like at that moment you had, when you copied it last time, you had the group input node selected, so it shows you the options for the group input. And you can't assign a node tree to a group input, so it won't show the property that we'll need to use. So we need to just add in a group node again and have that selected as the active node, and then copy the context again. So yeah, if you perfect. Yep.
There we go.
So now it shows the same name, but the active node is now a group. So on here we will now get the options that a node group node has, and one of those should be node tree. So you can actually filter these options. So if you click on the icon next to where it says active node group, so that's the global filter, but you can basically filter down every single one. You just type in node tree, I think it's called, just node. There's a space in it. Just node should be good enough. And then just close that. You should see the node tree option here.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just copy that, and that gives us the node tree property, which we will need to set. So if you copy that and paste that into the editor here, so Shift V again, then this gives us the node for, you see it's in brackets active node,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the node tree of the active node. And there's no inputs again because we're using the active node in the active area. Yeah, so whatever that is at that point, but because we just created a node group node, we know it's going to be this node which we want to assign our node tree to. So this is basically the property we want to set now. And this is a pointer property. So in the Blend Data Browser, actually it says the type. But basically what pointer property means is just it's pointing to some type of Blend data. So like in some locations in Blender, you have these like little drop downs where you get to like pick an object or pick a camera. Or on the node here, you get to pick a node group. So this is basically a pointer property which points to just any node tree inside of Blender. So this is also why this output is again a blend data output, is because it's pointing to some type of blend data. Okay, yeah, but we want to set this node tree property to the node group we just appended. So if you want to, you can delete that print node. We know that it's working, so you can just get rid of that. Oh, did it just crash?
Just a disclaimer, I'm using Blender 3.3 Alpha daily builds, so that's that's probably on me. And I just need to re-enable the add-on.
Hope we didn't lose.
Oh yeah, okay. I will try my autosaves, but no.
Whether the Discord screen share also gave up.
Okay.
Yeah, it stopped as well when it crashed for some reason.
There we go. Are we back? When Blender crashes, it does it properly.
Yeah.
All right. So we're back a couple of steps. We've got the operator.
Yeah, that's just kind of like your. Yeah, I don't actually see. Wait, now I do. Perfect. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Yeah, so let's just redo the few things. So we had the append from file node, so I guess you can also get rid of that print node. But yeah, we just appended our node group. We ran that operator to add the node, and now we are assigning the node tree.
The name. Oh right, that's the node group name itself, isn't it? UV.
Yep.
Sphere. And then after the append from file, we were doing the run operator.
Yep, that's. And that's just any of the add buttons here.
And the type, what was the type for this one?
The type was basically the of that node. So we have a node ID name node to get you that name.
There we go. Geometry nodes group, there we go. And we want to use the transform.
Yeah, we have that enabled. And I think you, no operator associated with this button. I think you still need to select it in the button node.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, so the button node is not running any operator right now, so just change that to custom and select it.
There we go. So we've got our group here again, and it's appending. We just need to make sure this is now assigned
I think I don't know. I think you're not muted, but I can't hear you right now.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yep.
There we go. Nice.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so we've got the run operator in, and we've got our data block.
Yep, and that's probably the point where we want to save.
Yeah.
Not do this again. Okay, yeah, so last step would be to assign the node group to this node. So we want to, yeah, exactly, copy the context and get that property that we want to set. So in plant data browser and under the active node.
So I'm copying that node tree data. That's the right one, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. So just Shift V to get that in. Yeah. Yeah, and what we want to set the property. So we want to set this node tree. So there's a set property node for that. And this is basically like you could use this to set any property in Blender. So like if you would want to set the location of an object, that's also a property, or set the levels input on your geometry nodes node here. That's also a property. Okay. But we want to set the node tree, so we want to connect that node tree output to the property input of the set property node, and then the value will be whatever we want to set the node tree to. So we want to set it to our appended node tree. So yeah, exactly, change that to property, because it's basically whatever you're plugging in, that's the one you want to change it to. But you get the appended output on the append from file node, which we printed earlier, and that's the node group we want to select. So yeah, we just took that up there, and that sets the node tree on the active node to the one we just appended. So if you, I guess, save one more time and then press the button again, then that should work.
Nice. All right.
There you go. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so we can add in one of the node groups.
So they.
Does that make sense so far? Just.
It does. The.
Oh yeah. I think I know what you mean.
So they're coming in as different data blocks. Each time we add one, it's just adding a whole new data block.
Right.
Is there a way to make it check if there's already one in the file?
It's not just a check box or something, but there's definitely a way we can do that. Yes. Yeah, we can do that now, I guess. Sure. Yeah. So right now we're always running the append from file node. So we are always appending some like this node group, and what we want to do is we only want to append it if it doesn't already exist. So if no node group with this name exists at that point, we want to append it. So we can use an if node for that. And yeah, that's kind of one of the more programming nodes, I guess, because yeah, it's kind of directly copying what Python does. So you have the execute input, and then you have 3 different outputs. So one of them is true. So if the checkbox on that if else node is checked, then it will run the true output. If it's not checked, it will run the false output. And after each of these are run, or after one of those is run, it will run the continue output. So basically what we want to do is we want to check if the node group is not in the file at that point. And if it's not in the file, then we want to append. And then we can just continue, because at that point we know it either was already in the file or we appended it. So we can continue with with it existing, I guess.
Got it. So
but if you so that's basically. Yes, exactly. So you hook that up as the first node, in the operator, and you can actually, let's just disconnect the run operator for now. So after the append from file.
Oh yeah.
Just disconnect that, and I guess the appended output as well. Yep. Okay, so now we basically need to find a way to know if a node group already exists in a file or not, and that's how we want to change this condition input on the if-else node.
Mm-hmm.
So we only want to append it if it's not in the file right now.
Got it.
So there's a node called, let me check. I think, oh, I don't know the exact name of the node.
You've made too many.
I bet. Yeah, we definitely did. In I bet Blanche of tutorials on Serpens. I bet he knows what the node's name is better than me.
Blanche, they're in the chat.
Yeah.
So are we looking?
God, I should really know what that.
Which one are we trying to add? So we're trying to compare which node strings are already in the file. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it's called in collection. Right. Is index in collection. There we go. All right. So yeah, we want to check if the node group is already in the file at that point.
Got it.
So the node is called is index in collection. It's a very descriptive name. I should have known that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just if you just add that in,
straight to the
then you get an input. Oh, it did not. Perfect. Yeah. So you get an input for the name you want to check for, and you get this collection property input. So this is maybe a little bit confusing because Blender has two things that are named collections. I don't know why they did that, but you have the collections in the outliner, and then you have Python collections.
Okay.
And they have nothing to do with each other, but for some reason they named them the same thing. Yeah, but basically a collection property is just a collection of blend data. So for example, the objects in a blend file. So you have different objects, and all of these objects grouped together are a collection of objects.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, in Serpens, this is represented by the square output. So a square output is always a group of some type of data. If it's a teal socket, then it's a collection property.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we want to check not for objects in this case, but we want to check for node groups. So I think you added this in earlier, but yeah, there we go. So yeah, all node groups, and we want to check if the name ETKUE sphere is in the collection of all node groups, and then we get this output here in collection, which is true if it's in the collection and false if it's not. So if yeah, exactly, perfect. Yeah. So we only want to append from file if it's not in the collection. So we want to run the false output. So now we don't actually need to hook the run operator up to the append from file node. We can connect it to the continue output of the if-else node, because we're now only running append from file if the node group wasn't in the file yet.
Got it.
So we know that after the if-else node, it's now definitely in the file.
Mm-hmm.
Either we appended it or it was already in there. So we can again use the node groups node. to get a node group by the same name. So if you just copy that node over, just duplicate it, and then you can use the indexed output here. So the indexed output is whatever you that data. So you can set that to name and connect the string node you have.
There we go.
Yeah. Right. So index will be either the integer, so the actual index, or the name. Both are a way to index this collection of node groups. So yeah, we can now plug the index output into this value of the set property, because we want to set the node tree to the node tree of this name. So that in the value input, because the property input is the property on the node group that we are trying to set, and the value is what we're setting it to.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that should be it.
Where do I put this append from file? Where does this plug in? Does it need to?
Nope. Just the if node, or if we just go from node, which checks for this condition. So it checks if a node group of this name already exists. If it doesn't, so the false output, it runs append from file. So it appends our node group. And then after that's done, it runs the continue output. So we could do more stuff like after we appended the node group, but we don't have anything we don't want to do. We just want to make sure that our node group exists, and we can do that either by checking if it already exists, or if it doesn't, we just append it.
So it runs.
So we don't need to connect anything after that.
It runs this, and when it runs out of stuff to plug into, it just goes back to the if else.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Coming from like other modeling.
Yeah, so we're
coming from modeling stuff. It's always weird to have unconnected nodes, because you're always used to things like they don't run unless they've completed the circuit. So it's a bit different with Serpens. Yeah,
so I think maybe a good way to think about it maybe is that it's going from the other direction, because you're like in geometry nodes or shader nodes, you're always working towards some output node. Yeah, and here you're basically starting on the left and then going to the right, and you're going through different branches of this tree, and it's kind of finishing up all of them, or at least the ones where like the conditions match in this case.
Okay.
But yeah, it's basically running from left to right and not from right to left.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, so if you press the button again, it shouldn't import a new one. Maybe save. Perfect.
Nice. Yeah, that's working perfectly.
Yes. So I mean, that's kind of the core part of our add-on. I guess the last thing to do is add in different nodes.
Yeah.
Or node groups. And so what we could do is like copy this whole thing, like the entire operator, and type in a different name, but because that really doesn't really make sense. So this is where you would we basically want to run the same operator, but with a different name for our node group. So if you look on the run operator node for adding the node, we had these inputs, and we basically want to create an input for our own operator. We want to tell the operator what node it should add. So we can add a property to our operator. And if you go to the operator node, then exactly. This is where you're adding properties to the operator. And you can name this something like group name, just to tell, to better see what it is. But basically this is just a property on this operator. And if you now go a bit to the left to that button, you see there's an input on the button now. So we actually get to pass a value from this button to the operator. And if we were to duplicate this button, we could type in different things. So we could get different values to our operator.
Nice. So how does this...
Okay. Yeah, so now we just... Yeah.
How do we link that group name? Because that's only appeared in the button, hasn't it? It's not like there's no additional sockets or anything on there.
Yeah. There's no outputs or anything, right? Yeah, so that's basically for getting any properties you create in Serpens.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier we had the Blender property node where we pasted in the property we copied, and that's the node you add if you press Shift V. But we now want properties that we create with Serpens, so we want the Serpens property node instead of the Blender property node. So if you just add that in, then you get to select the property you want. So you see the option between add-on and node, and add-on properties and panel. So if you were if you created properties in the end panel there, then these would show up here.
Okay.
Right. But we created our property on the node. So that's on this operator node. So this is what we want. So we can select the node tree again, then the operator node, just search for that, and then you should be able to select the property we created then. And then you get the value output. So you could just use that instead. And now it will use whatever we pass into this button.
Oh man, I'm going to start releasing so many garbage add-ons now. Oh my god, it works. Awesome. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, so now we can we could manually copy our button now and add a button for every node group we want to be able to import.
Mm-hmm. So is that the way to do it? To manually replace add the buttons?
That's one way to do it. It kind of depends on what you what your goal with the add-on is. Like if you want to just be able to add new groups to the blend file and then export the add-on again and you're good to go, then we can do it a different way. But if you were to if you had a lot of different sub node groups in there, then it probably makes more sense to just kind of write a list somewhere. Mm-hmm. And you can do that in kind of a bunch of different ways. So one would be to just read out all the node groups that are in the blend file, and we can do that if you want. But yeah, like I said, if you have a lot of subgroups inside those groups, you would have to filter all of those out. And I guess you could come up with a naming scheme or something, put an underscore in front of every node you don't want to show up in the menu.
Yeah.
But you could also do something like write a text file, also include that as an asset, and then go through every line in that text file and show buttons for that. But for this example, we can just go through all the groups in that blend file and show buttons for those.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. So we need a way to get all the node groups in that file, and there's a actually pretty new node, I think just got added with the last update, which is called list blend file content, and that does exactly what it says. Yeah, so you can switch that to any type of data. We want node groups in this case, and then for the path we get our asset node back. Yeah. So now you see this purple output here, and before we had the square outputs for the collection properties. Now again, we have a square output is still data, but this is a list. So purple squares are list outputs or inputs. And a list is basically just also some group of data, but a list can hold any type of data. And in this case, the list blend file content node returns you a list of names of the things in your file. So we get all the names of the node group. And what we can do is just maybe like, I guess, print that or display it in a label just to see if it's working, if it's showing all the names. So if you, just add a label node somewhere. I think we still have that enter menu node. I think it's in the node header.
Oh yeah, it's
it still says my label in the. So you can just plug in names into the label input there. Or select somewhere else.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so this lists all the different groups in that file. So here, for example, you see the geometry nodes, which is, I guess, just the node tree you added your groups to. So that we probably wouldn't want to display an input for that or a button for that in our menu, so we can filter that out. Actually, you have a nice naming scheme going on anyways, so I guess we can check if we start with ETK in the name.
Sure.
But yeah, let's just start by displaying buttons for all the different node groups, and then filter after that. Okay, so we have a list, and we want to display a button for each of the names in the list.
Yeah.
So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to add in a for node, a for loop node. So Serpens does have loop nodes.
Nice.
We also have portals, by the way. So I don't know if I think at some point there was a proposal for portals in like other node editors, but we have them.
So do we want the interface ones?
Yeah, and we want to do it for the interface. Yeah, so exactly, that's the one we want to add. Yeah, and right now it's set to collection. So it would, we get a collection input on the for node, but we have a list. So we just change that to list. And then connect our node here. And then hook up the menu to this for node. And again, we have a repeat output and a continue output. So repeat runs for every item in this list, and continue runs after all the items are done. So everything you hook up to this repeat output will get drawn for every item in the list.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at the menu now. Yeah, it just shows the same button for all of the items in the list.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we want to use the name here of that node group. So we get the item output on the for loop node. And that's basically the active item that you're in right now in the loop. And yeah, you want to change that to string because we need to tell Serpens what type of data is in this list, because it could be like any type of data. But we know it's a list of names, so it's a list of strings. So we change that to string, and then you can just plug that into the label. And that should show the right label on those nodes.
Nice, that's so cool. Although...
so, yeah, right now it will still just add the same node.
Oh yeah, because I've got that in there. Oh,
because
so
we still have that. Yeah, so you could just hook the... Yep, exactly. There you go.
Oh my god, it works. Okay.
So yeah, we can still filter out the geometry nodes one if you want.
Yeah, or it might be better to do it to filter to a specific prefix, I think.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, so we basically just want to check if the name starts with ETK underscore. And let me just check what's the best node to use for that. text. Or if you just go in the Shift A menu and look at the text, Serpens Shift A menu, and under text you get a bunch of options here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we basically want to check substring is in string. So we don't have like starts with. We can probably add that as well. But we basically just want to check if etk underscore is in the name. Works for this one. So yeah, and the string is the item, and then we only want to display our button if the substring is in the string. So you want to add an if node and only show the button if this is true. So in this case, if interface, not program, and yeah, exactly, hook that up to the repeat socket and this in here. Yep. And that should be all.
Is it just that? God damn it. Okay.
Does that still make sense?
It does make
Like
sense.
what it's doing.
It's like, I don't
Awesome.
know, we just keep reaching the results really quickly. Like, I feel like I'm expecting it to take so much longer to get anywhere. And it's like, oh, it's done.
Yeah, I'm kind of telling you what to do, and it's so that makes it easier, like if you don't know what nodes exist.
Yeah.
But I think because we like all the blend data is kind of blend data and it's kind of the same. You don't need to know like 50 different sources to get stuff from. So you just kind of need to learn the interface nodes, and then the couple of different like utility nodes we have, like append from file and like list content and so on, to just figure out the things you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally it should be simpler than coding it. Actually, we can check what it looks like when it's coded. It's also kind of a nice thing.
So does it export?
Maybe save before that, because
yeah. Does it export like the proper
always
just Python? Does it writes a proper
Yes.
script, does it? It doesn't like bundle it up as Serpens.
Yep, proper script, proper Python code. So if you just go into the end panel, and then under settings, so just the end panel, and then at the bottom there's a settings option, just under Serpens, but yeah, settings. Then if you just enable debug nodes at the bottom, then all the nodes get very long. So it actually shows you what code the nodes are generating.
Okay.
So if you just go to like just maybe the operator node, you can see the code for this operator. So this is all the code Serpens is generating, and you basically see like going from right to left, the code of an individual node getting passed to the node before it, and then like further on it's getting longer and longer because it's kind of combining that code as it goes back.
I see.
So this is kind of just maybe an option if you want to like see how would you do this in Python.
Yeah.
Just enable this option and check on the node, or alternatively, it's kind of a mess to work with because it's all the nodes get so big. But we can instead check keep code file. So under generated code, there's the option to keep the file, and then you can you just need to change some setting, or like just add in a node and delete it again just to refresh the add-on. Yeah, and then under the scripting workspace, I guess, or just under text editor inside Blender, you can select the Serpens code log, and this is basically the code Serpens is generating live. So when you change something in Serpens, it will show you the changes here.
Nice. Oh, it does all of the.
And this is also kind of the code.
Like dealing with OS paths.
Yeah. So we have some. Right. So the thing with generating code is that there's always some stuff you wouldn't write manually. but generally it's good to get an idea of how you do stuff, but it's not like copy this one-to-one.
Yeah.
Because we're still translating nodes to code, so it's not perfect. Stuff like this property exists in the execute down here, and like small things like variable names. We add these like unique identifiers. So if you look at your operator name, it doesn't just say operator, which is the name you gave it. Where it says class SNA operator, but it adds this suffix.
Yeah.
Which is basically just like a way to make sure that it's unique anywhere in Blender, which like you would do manually as a developer, but we can't, or we don't want to force every Serpens user to choose unique names or properly formatted Python names or stuff like that. So we just put a suffix on it. Stuff like that. Yeah.
This seems like a really good way to learn Python as well. Just like putting together a few nodes, even if you've written like the rest of your add-on manually and you just want to learn how to do the UI stuff, like just putting together some nodes and then going in and checking what Serpens is outputting.
Yeah, and you can like totally write scripts and use it to run script node, and then just select the script we wrote on our own. So that's you can do that as well if you like know a bit of Python but don't want to deal with all the add-on stuff around it.
Yeah.
Right.
So how would you?
So I think that's.
How would you export the whole thing for it to bundle up the Python file as well as the assets and all of these bits?
Yeah, so that's where you would go to the end panel again. And then under add-on, just like a little bit above. Still in, there you go. You get to like enter all the stuff you see in the preferences. So add-on name, author, location, and all that stuff. The version of your add-on, the version Blender that is needed. You don't need to enter all that stuff, but and then you usually want to save one last time before you export.
Oh, really?
Because exporting is basically like rebuilding the whole thing, but so then you just select somewhere to put it, export, and that's it. And this is just a little pop-up because we have basically a marketplace for Serpens, like built into the Serpens add-on preferences. So like if you create an add-on with Serpens, you can upload it to our Discord and it will show up in the Serpens preferences. It's just kind of a nice way to see what other people are making with Serpens. So
nice.
if you go to add-ons, so we have packages, snippets, which are kind of some other things you can do. But this is kind of just a bunch of add-ons that people created with Serpens. And it's just a nice way to kind of share them. And some of these are paid, most of them are free. Some of them also have the blend file linked, so you could like explore blend files that other people made.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's absolutely not needed. Like you don't need to put your add-on here when you make it with Serpens, but if you just want to share it with the Serpens community, then it's just a nice place to do that.
It's so nice that you've got like a place as well that people can just do that to share it within that Serpens community. I think that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you saved your add-on, so you should have a zip file somewhere now, wherever you put it, and that's your add-on. And then just to check that's working, we can just open up a new blend file, where you can, if you want to, you can look into the zip file as well, just to see what's in there. But it's just basically your code and then the asset.
Oh, okay, nice.
So you have the init, which is the code, and then this blend file gets put in here, and then you could add like custom icons and stuff as well.
And then it just installs like a regular add-on.
Right.
That's so
And
cool.
we have preferences node as well, so you could like add add-on preferences here if you had shortcuts or stuff.
Oh, okay. Nice.
But yeah, now you could share the zip file and just like any other add-on.
Yeah. That's so cool. I know so many people who have just like a whole bunch of really cool node groups, especially with like geometry nodes getting more popular. And yeah, just being able to bundle them up and share them as a zip file with a proper add-on to be able to add them nicely. It makes it just so useful rather than having to append every time.
Yeah. The Shift A menus will get really long when you have like 10 different categories in there from different people, but worth it. Right. So, yeah, so that's, I think that's kind of the add-on.
Did you want to, I don't know if you wanted to show the, like the setup for doing comments or annotations?
Yeah, we can. We can build that or build something else.
I think, I mean, it's up to you. That seems like a useful one at least, because I know at least for me, like commenting node trees is one of the biggest things that is so frustrating with Blender, because you just don't have any option to do it, basically.
Yeah, so the thing we talked about was to add comments like directly in the node editor, right? So like you can click somewhere and type some text and it will show up there. And that's actually only possible since like the last update, or a second to last update of Serpens, because we added modal operators. And a modal operator is basically, yeah, so modal, so if you do something like in the viewport, you press G to move an object. Then you pressing G runs a modal operator, and this modal operator is running until you like either press left click, right click, escape, or something to like end that modal. And while that modal is running, you can basically take over Blender and take over all the shortcuts. So nice. if you just like if you're in your viewport normally and press X, it will delete the object. But if you press G and then you press X, it will move the object on the X-axis. So basically, the modal is taking over all the input that the user is doing.
Got it.
And you have access to all these actions while the modal is running.
Sure.
So a modal operator is basically just an operator, so it's doing stuff, but it's running continuously until you stop it. So for example, the screencast keys are also a modal operator. So they are catching like all the actions that you're doing and then displaying them.
It's probably also worth...
You should probably disable that when you create a modal with Serpens.
It's probably also worth mentioning...
Maybe it's fine.
Mentioning that if you have modal operators running, it seems to break Blender's autosaves. So that's why my autosaves never work, because of screencast keys.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. That was the thing. Like people always want like since we added that, like keep asking if you can just have something running in the background to do stuff like, I don't know, track how many mouse clicks you're doing to like in a file or something. But yeah, that was the thing that broke. I remember now. Autosaves. I guess if you want to sacrifice that, then that's fine. But
there should be workarounds for
yeah,
it, I
so
think,
we can now oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but we just want to like show the comments while we have them active, so that should be fine. But basically we want to do kind of what the screencast keys add-on is doing. We want to display some text. We're not we can't do any like fancy graphics like the mouse cursor here. We can only do text right now.
That'll be fine.
But that should be fine for comments. Okay. Yeah, so I think we should maybe start by like just thinking about how exactly we want the add-on to work. Like how do we want to add a comment? How do we want to edit them afterwards? What settings do we want to have for a comment and all that stuff? So like what's your vision?
So
if you have one.
Yeah, I think having a button on, I kind of feel like the tool shelf. It'd be good to have like something in here. It doesn't have to be, I mean, it can just be text or something. And then you can enable your comments on the screen. Or, yeah, so maybe you've got like your toggle over here. Oh, bad writing. But maybe there's like a shortcut, so you can like press a button and then you can have a comment appear like a text box at your mouse where you can write whatever you want. And then, yeah, you can just like have that tick box to turn it on and off. As for like changing them afterwards, I'm not sure you'd really have to necessarily, although perhaps having something on the N panel out here would be useful. I think that's how you did it in your mock-up before as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that sound doable?
And then like when you sure, yeah. So basically the toggle would let you what would let you add a comment, or would just enable comments overall? So it would show the comments and it would let you press that shortcut to add a new one, right?
Yeah. In fact, maybe not there. Maybe would it be possible to put it in the overlays thing?
Yeah, I think that should work. Yeah.
Because that would be quite useful.
Yeah, probably.
Just the same as having annotations. You could have a tick
we can
box
actually try that. That should be. Yeah.
It's fine. If we need to.
Okay. Yeah. So for checkbox, we'll see as we go.
Sure.
Yeah, but we can just start by adding something to that overlays panel just to see if it works. So I think it's a panel, so we want to use add to panel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we can add something there. So let's just add a label just for testing, and then we can also maybe add a button for now. Let's add a button for now, and then we'll do the toggle for turning the comms on and off later on. Because basically, like, modal operator is still an operator, so you can't really directly, like, it's not like it's running when you when you enable the checkbox, and not running when it's disabled, but it's running when you run it. So I don't know if that makes sense, but basically, it's you can start a modal operator by pressing a button, but to enable it by toggling a checkbox, it's a little bit more work. But we can do that.
We can just have it on a
button
then.
We'll just start with a button to keep it simple.
Yeah.
We'll see. Let's see how far we go. Okay, but let's just start with our modal to. Let me just. Actually, let's start with the modal to add a comment. Let me just think about the order in which we should do that. Okay, now let's start with the modal that's drawing the comments. That's maybe a bit nicer to look at.
Sure.
So we want to add a modal operator. And that's, it kind of looks like the operator node. It just has a couple more options. So again, you have all the properties in here. You have the name, the description, but the outputs are a little different. So you have before modal, which runs, before the modal actually starts. You have modal, which is this kind of repeating thing that like constantly runs, and while you're in this output, you can like get all the events of the user. And then after modal is just when the user ends the modal somehow.
How do you know what's
Yeah, so
happening
those are the
before
outputs we have, and we can.
versus after? Like, if you've used it once, at what point does the after become the before from the next time?
Well, I mean, like if you press the button,
Mm-hmm.
then it will start running the modal, and at that point it will run before modal, and then after before modal is done, it will keep running the modal output until you
Okay.
stop the modal somehow. So like you press right click or something, and
So-
then it will run after modal. And
So
then
before
when you click the
modal.
button again to start the modal, it will run before modal again, and
Got
so
it.
on.
Got it.
Yeah, and then you can enable one more output by checking the draw text option on the node. So yeah, just on the node there's draw text, and that will give you an output. And this is the one where we're actually drawing stuff. So we have this is also like continuously running, but it's a different thing from the modal itself. So the modal output is kind of where we like handle doing like the user interactions. Like when the user presses a shortcut, we want to do something, and draw text is just where we are drawing text and doing nothing else.
Got it.
Yeah, so to draw text, we add in a draw text node. I think it's called draw modal text. Yep. And you just hook that up to the draw text output. And now we just need to start our modal. So you need to select the operator in the button node again.
So is that with custom and then like this?
Yep, exactly. And then in the overlays dropdown, you can just press that button. And in the bottom left, you see my modal text. And that's the text we have added on that node. And now it's kind of a thing with working with modals in Serpens. It's a good idea to like cancel them before you change an option, because Serpens will, as you change the option, it will recompile the add-on. So if the operator is still running while you change an option, it will basically break that iteration of the operator running. And it's not really an issue. The only problem is that it will like continuously print an error in the console. And you to get rid of it, you need to restart Blender. So it doesn't actually break anything as far as I know, but it's yeah, just something to be aware of.
Sure.
Yeah, and like with modals, partly because they're new to Serpens, but also because they like continuously run, and when something runs continuously, it's easy for it to break stuff. Like infinite loops are kind of always bad, but here they're kind of wanted, but you know, they can still break stuff, so saving. Just always saving your file steps. All right, perfect. Yeah, but now we have a node to draw some text, and basically this node is going to be is what we will be using to draw a comment. And right now we don't have any comments yet, so we can't really say like what should the position be, but or what should the actual text be. But we have an operator that we can use to draw our comments in the editor. All right. So yeah, now we just need a way to add comments here. And we basically want another modal operator for that, because we want actually while I'm wait let me let me think about that.
Right.
It's the way I did it last time, maybe, or like for testing. Maybe we can actually simplify it a bit. Yeah, we probably can. Actually, yeah, we totally can. Oh, wait, you wanted to do it with like a shortcut, right? So if you press a shortcut, you can add a comment in that spot.
That would be,
Okay.
I think, the most
Yeah,
useful
sure.
way, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So then for running a shortcut, or for adding a shortcut to your add-on, you can use the on keypress node. So if you do Shift A, we have like a bunch of events you can choose from. So if you, and one of those events is just a keypress. But under events, there's like on file load, when frame change, when the render is finished, and so on. So you could run stuff after any of these events or before any of these events and so on. There's like different options on the nodes, but we just want to run something if you press a certain shortcut. So you can put a new shortcut in here and select the space which it should be able to run in. So we only want our shortcut to work in the node editor. And we want like when you press it, not like when you double click it or something.
Yeah.
And you can just choose a shortcut here.
Does Shift T do anything? No.
Sure. U is probably, I don't know which, like what is taking and what isn't.
There we go. I think that's it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then at the bottom we can choose what we want to run. So we want to run an operator and we want to run a custom operator. So we want to change this Blender icon here to custom again. And then choose an operator. And you could choose the modal operator here. Now if you press Shift T.
Nice.
Yeah, then it will actually run that modal. Okay, now, I think we can just use one modal. Oh, this is okay. So let's actually think about how we want the add-on to work again. So if we say that while all the comments are shown, we can press the shortcut, then that would mean we can use one modal operator. I'm just kind of talking to myself.
That's all right.
Just trying to figure out what the like simplest way to do this is. Okay, let's do it in this one modal operator.
Sure.
So actually let's do it the way I did it, because I know it works and it's actually also fairly simple to do compared to what we might get into if we're trying to do trying to simplify it, making it more complex.
Yeah.
So let's just add in a second modal operator. So we're using this modal operator to draw our text to the screen, and we'll be using a second modal operator to add a comment to a specific spot when we press that shortcut. So if you just select that modal in the on keypress node.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And you can give it a different name, but I think save before that, because we had a bug at some point which we couldn't reproduce yet. Where like renaming an operator crashed, which I still have no idea how it could happen.
Is that just while it's running?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't reproduce it, so it's maybe, but I think it also happened for like normal operators and not just modals. So I really don't know.
That seemed totally fine.
Worked. Okay, so we don't want to, actually, maybe we do. So if we connect a node to this draw text output here, draw modal text node again, then we can draw something at the mouse cursor to basically like let the user know, click somewhere to add the comment. Or you could do it just by I guess the thing that we need to just choose is if we want to activate the shortcut and then let the user click in a spot to add a comment, or if we would just want to say wherever we press the shortcut is where we want to add the comment.
I think just where you press the shortcut.
I guess the two options. Okay. Then we don't need to draw any text, I guess. So you can delete that node and disable draw text on the modal.
Nice.
Because we don't need to use that. So we just want to run something basically before the modal or after the modal. Actually, we want to run it before the modal because that's where we have access to the events. That's a wait, how do I explain this? Okay, so the reason that we're using modals in the first place is because we need access to like the actions the user is doing. So when they press a button or when they move their mouse and that kind of thing. And we have access to that inside a modal, but we don't have access to that like outside of this modal. So we can use the events in the before modal output and in the modal output, but not in the after modal output. And that's just kind of a quirk of the modals of how they work. But it's just, I guess, a good thing to know. You would usually like only use the events in the modal output, but we don't actually want to run something repeatedly. We just want to run something before the modal and then end the modal immediately, basically.
Okay.
So we want to have access to the events because we want to have access to the mouse position. So we can add an event that's actually under modal. It would actually make sense to put that under events, but it's under modal, the modal event.
Okay.
At the top there. Yeah, so you get access to all these different events that the user could do. And actually, just to see what that does, if you add in a print node and connect that to the modal output. Look up like the type to the string input. So the type output of the modal event node. So this is the type of action the user has performed. Yeah, and then you want to end the modal quickly because it's recording all the mouse moves, and those are a lot. So yeah, we have an option on the node to limit how many it should print. So if you limit that to like 3, then it will only print the last 3 things.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, you see all the things, and if you like press a button, then it will show these events. So this is like what you could use the type for, and you can also check for certain shortcuts. So we have an on shortcut pressed or modal shortcut node or something like that, where you can check like if a certain shortcut was pressed, and you don't need to build it yourself from this modal event. But we can also use something like the mouse region or mouse window. So mouse region would be in this area that you're in. So in the node editor, I think top left would be, or bottom left would be 0, 0. If you just move your mouse, bottom left 0, 0. And if you would use mouse window, that would be in the entire Blender window. So if you have multiple areas open, then it would 0, 0 would be the bottom left of the entire window. And mouse offset is just from where you started. So something that like some people are doing is like when you add in a solidify modifier, for example, you can do that in the before modal output, and then in the modal output, as you move your mouse like left to right or top to bottom, you can change the thickness of the solidify based on like what the offset from the original position was.
I see.
So that's one of the uses for that.
And you got pressure and tilt.
But we just want to use exactly. Right. So you could work with those as well. But yeah, we just want mouse region probably because we want the position in the node editor.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we want to just run something before the modal because we don't want to run something repeatedly. We just want to like show a pop-up when. Oh wait, now that I say that, no, that's fine. Actually, I think that's fine. Yeah. let's stick with the modal output. Okay, so in the modal output, we have access to this event. So we have access to the mouse region position. And then we want to like show a small pop-up to let the user enter some text for this comment. And we don't have the option to show a pop-up on the modal operator node, so we need a separate operator for that. So if you just add in a normal operator, just a operator node, then you get the option here to choose a pop-up. So right now it's set to none, and you can just switch that to on the node itself. Yeah, you could show different types of pop-ups. I think we just want pop-up. I think that's the normal one. So that's, I think, the pop-up with just like an OK button.
Okay.
That you see sometimes in Blender. So we want to run this operator when we run our modal, and we're using the modal operator because we want the region, and we can't get that in the operator node. So we need to pass that to this operator node where we show the pop-up and where we will eventually actually add our comment.
Okay.
And as we did before, to pass something to the operator, we need to add a property to the operator. So we can get an input on our run operator when we eventually add that. And this time we want to pass the mouse region, which is a float vector. So you can just change that type by pressing the edit button there, exactly, the pen icon, and just change that to float. And then there's this vector option. Yeah, at the button there you can change it to be a vector.
Yes. Oh, nice. You got
and then change the size to 2. Yeah, because it's just X and Y. So just size of 2. Okay, yeah, so that gives us the mouse region properties, so we can now pass that to our operator. This is like getting kind of complex.
No, it's good. It's good
like
to
3 different operators, but okay, yeah. So what we want to do now is we want to run our operator from the modal and then pass in the mouse region to this operator. So we want a run operator node and hook that up to our modal, and then don't run them. don't run the modal, otherwise we will. I'll tell you in a second. But if you just select that operator on the run operator node, so switch that to custom and then select the node. Then you get the mouse region input, and on here you can plug in the mouse region. So if you were to run it now, don't. It would continuously run this operator, this pop-up operator, and basically never stop. And I don't know what would happen then, but it can't be anything good. So let's not do that. But let's just run it once and then end the modal. So for that, we have a modal return node. So after the run operator, you can add in modal return or return modal operator, and then we can just hook that up to our run operator or to the print if you want to keep that here. And we can choose like how we want to enter our modal. We just want to finish it. So now our modal operator will run the modal output once, call the run operator node, which will run our pop-up here. We're passing the mouse region to that as a property, and then we are finishing the modal, so it doesn't keep running.
Got it.
So if you run that now, then that should work.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you can see this pop-up, and basically what the pop-up is doing is when you press OK, it runs the execute output. So it doesn't do anything until you press OK, except for the before pop-up output. So if you wanted to run something before the pop-up opened, you could use that output.
Okay, nice.
And now we want to display a text input so we can enter a comment in this pop-up. So we can like display stuff in the pop-up by adding an output here where it says pop-up. So we can add interface outputs to our operator.
Mm-hmm.
And in here we can hook up a display property node or a label or something. But yeah, we want to display a property, this text property where we can enter the comment. So we can just connect that here. And if you press Y, it should show like no property connected. Yeah, so here we need to connect the actual property, the text property we want to display. So we can just add another property to our operator.
Oh, in the actual operator.
So like we have the mouse region. Yeah, exactly. So these properties basically they only exist in the operator. So like we quickly showed these options in the end panel where you can add properties to your add-on, but these exist in the blend file. But these only exist in the operator. So if you create them on the operator node, they will exist while the operator is running, and then be gone after that.
Got it.
So these are actually like if you have operators, like if you run stuff in the viewport, when you like add an object and it shows the redo panel in the bottom left, the inputs it shows there are properties of an operator.
Okay.
So this is kind of what you're adding right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the pop-up is basically the same thing. So actually, I think the pop-up is actually like what's being displayed there, just without an OK button. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, we have this property. I guess we can name it like comment, but it should be a string property because we want to display a comment or enter some text
On the operator or the display property?
Sorry, the property on the operator. So where it says new property, just the string. Yeah, just to see what that is. Yeah, and then we can get that with a Serpens property node.
Oh, change its name now.
It's called comment.
I'll just change that back to pop up. And then comment, there we go.
To display it, so we use the blend data output here, the property output, to hook that up to the property input on the display property node. And now if we press the shortcut, it should show our text input.
Nice.
Okay.
So right now, is that text?
Yeah, so now we'll actually get into
that text that you actually write into this text box.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going anywhere? Or does it just disappear as soon as you click OK?
It just disappears because the properties only exist in the operator. As soon as you press OK, it runs the execute output, which we have nothing attached to right now, so it just disappears. Yeah,
I see. That makes sense.
Right, so we want to use that, the text which is entered and the mouse region we pass to the operator to create an actual comment. And this is where we'll actually create our own collection property. So before we dealt with collections like as outputs on, for example, the objects node or the node groups node. But we can create our own collections, and we want to do that in the end panel. So basically we want our comments to like always exist and not just inside the operator or something. So this is where we want to create our collection property. So yeah, you can just create a property here by pressing the plus icon. And then it will show you the same option here, but you can just name that like comments.
Should this property have a different name to the one in the operator?
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Text or something, but yeah, it's really like it's totally different property. So whatever you want. Yeah, so for the type, we want to make this a collection property. So as I said before, collection properties are basically like not the Blender collections you find in the outliner, but kind of Python collections, which means collections of some Blender data. And as you can see here, it says there's no valid property group selected. And that's basically because a collection property is a collection of different items of a property group. So that's a lot of words, but basically we need to create another property, which is a property group. And a property group is just kind of a container to add more properties to. So if you just add that, that's maybe easier to see. Just add another property, change the type to group. So this would now be one comment. So you can, yeah. And yeah, exactly. So now on this group, yeah, you can select it here, exactly. So now our collection property is a collection of this group. So for every item we add to this collection, each item will have all the properties that the group has. So you could imagine that like the group being an object and the collection being the collection of all objects in Blender. And every time you add an object, every object has kind of the same properties. Every object has a name, every object has a location. But so they all kind of have the same properties, but they are all different from each other in that you can like enter different values for them.
So it's sort of like
each object a different name and so on.
Like a blueprint for the thing that you're going to be adding to your collection.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, now we can think about like what properties we want a comment to have. So we of course wanted to have the text that we entered in the pop-up, and we wanted to have the position, so the coordinates we passed to it. But yeah, let's just start with the text and the position. We could like add more things to this, like we could change the color and so on.
Yeah.
But later on. So yeah, text, which is just a string, and then another property for the location.
And that's just a float.
And that would be a float vector again. Yep.
Right.
Exactly. So now every comment we add to our collection will have a unique name, a unique text and a unique location. And we can set that based on the position we passed to our operator and the value we entered in that pop-up. So now we just need to add an item to our collection. So yeah, for that we have a node called, like, I think, add collection item.
Nice.
Right. And in here we need to plug in the collection we want to add an item to. Property we created with the Serpens property node again.
Oh, right. So this one's under the add-on this time.
And yeah, if you can actually, in this case, you can, right, exactly. Yep, so just select the comments. We will use that in a second from property group. Yep, but just comments, and then you can plug in either one of these outputs on the node into the collection property input. Okay. So yeah, and we want to run the add collection item node. So you see the execute input, so it will only run if it's connected somewhere after we press the OK button. So when in this operator, yeah, and something I like to do is like just collapse this node, so just like minimize the Serpens property node and give it the name of the property. Just F2 and type in comments, but yeah, works like that. It's just a bit cleaner to just like put this underneath the thing we're making, but yeah. Okay, so this would now add an item to our collection, but this item, this comment, will now have all the properties we added to our group, but we don't have any value set there yet, so it will just be like have an empty text and probably 0, 0 for the position. The default is there. So we want to, like, immediately after we create the item, you can see the item output on the add collection item node. So that is the comment we just created. So now we want to set properties on this comment. And yeah, so we want to exactly start with the set property node. And the property we want to set is one of the properties from this group. So this is where you will use the from property group checkbox. So if you just add another Serpens property node, and then you can see, like, if you just like if you had that turned off, and in that dropdown you don't get the if you have from property group turned off, in that dropdown you don't have the option to like select a property from the group, which is what we want. Like, we want to set the text and we want to set the location. So we want to select a property from a property group. So this is why we need to check from property group here.
Yeah.
And then we can select the group. So yeah, just select group, and then you get another input to select that either the text or location. We need to set both. Right, and now you see this input here saying, yeah, and you can just plug that into property, because that's what we want to set. Yes, you see this input saying pointer property no data. That's because we need to tell it like what item of the collection we want to set the property on. So that is the item we just created. So we just plug that into the item output of the add collection item node. Perfect. So yeah, we want to set that to the text we just entered in our pop-up. So we can change the value to just a string, and then we could just enter something in here, but we want to use the thing from the pop-up. So you can use the same Serpens property node you had to display the property. We just copy that over, use the output, doesn't matter.
Okay, nice. So this is now, when I run the modal operator, or when I press this shortcut, it runs the modal operator, which runs the operator, which adds a new group to the collection, and then inputs the text into that group. Is that right?
That's exactly right, yeah.
Nice. And where are the groups being stored, like inside the data structure here?
Right, so on the collection property, so the group doesn't really exist. Like you said, it's a blueprint, but the collection property exists somewhere in Blender. So if you click on that again, you see the attach to option, and right now it's attached to the scene. So you could attach that to something else. So right now, for every scene you create, this collection property will exist again. But you could, like the example with objects before, you could attach a property to every object. So every time you have a new object, the value you enter for that property will be unique.
Oh, okay.
But I guess we actually want to probably attach it to the node tree, because we want to have like unique comments for every node tree. So we could do that. But that would also mean that we would have to pass in the node tree, but we can do that.
Should we leave it as scene?
So if we just change that. Sure, we can leave it at the yeah. We can do that later. We'll see why we need to change it then.
Sure.
So we can definitely do that. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we're setting the text. So I guess last thing to do is setting the location. So just another set property node. And this time we want to set, instead of the text, we want to set the location. So that's a property we want to attach here, or want to plug in here. And then, yeah, that's a float vector.
That needs to come from.
And we can, yeah, from the, you can just, add another node and select that.
Oops. So what's coming through this value socket? Is that just the default values?
It's the current.
The current.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Clear. It's the current value of this item of the group. So in this case, it would be the default because it haven't set yet. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll need to fix something later here, but we'll see why. But for now, we should now be able to add items to our comments. So I don't know if you're saving, but
I am.
It's probably a good time. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this added an item, and we're not displaying the items anywhere, so we're not seeing it anywhere. But this is now where we can go back to our original model where we were drawing the comments. So if you, exactly, where we're displaying just that one text. So now what we want to do is display text for every item in our collection. So yeah, that's exactly what we want to do. I don't know if you want to try to figure it out yourself. Putting me on the spot.
So I need to find the data, and it'll come through as a collection, and then I need to pass that as a string. But how am I going to find its location as well? Or like, how am I going to draw each?
Right, you want to
each one on its location. Do I need to loop through the collection?
Yep, that's exactly right. So same as we did with the names earlier, when we were drawing the different buttons. We now want to, instead of like for every name in the list of node groups, instead we want to go through every item in the collection of comments we added. So we want a for loop, and this time execute, because we are in this modal operator. And now if we just drop that in between there. Now we get a collection input here. So we can pass in the collection we want to loop over in here. And that's that collection we added our item to earlier.
Do I just pull it through with a Serpens properties node like this?
Yep, exactly. So this is the comments one is the output from here. Either one. And put them here. By the way, like the plant data outputs, so the TL ones, it doesn't really matter if you plug in a square one or a circle one.
Okay.
Just usually if it's like a different value and you get a like string output or something, then you would want to like match the color for displaying a property. You can't plug in a string output to display a property, but you need to plug in the blend data output. But in this case, because they're both blend data outputs, they will do the same thing.
Okay, got you.
It's just just use either one. Just match the squares. Perfect. But now we're displaying this text for every item in our collection. But it still just displays the same text for every one of these items. So we can use the item output as the item we want to get the text from. So as we did below, where we set the text for a specific item. This time we want to get the text for a specific item. So yeah, you can just copy one of these nodes or just add a new one. The Serpens property.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, that was, yeah, we're not replacing the Serpens, the set property node, but we're just using a different output on the Serpens property node.
Oh, I see.
But we want to now, yeah, again, get one of the properties from this group. We want to just get the text from the group. So just check from property group and select that one here. And now again, we need to plug in an item, and this time the item is the one we're in, for the loop at that point.
Should this be collection?
And now we can use the value output. No, because every, like the thing you're passing into the loop is a collection, and then every item in that collection is just a single thing.
Oh, okay,
so it's just property.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of the thing of, like, you have the square socket being the list, and then the round socket is just one of that type. Yeah. So
this can just...
yeah. Yep, and that just into text, and then it will still be drawn at, like, all the text will still be drawn at the same position, so we can, we can just try that. And then,
okay, so we need to do the same.
The one you enter.
For this one.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, nice. Okay. Blanche says
yeah, so if you move around now with
I don't know if I've got any particularly fun fonts, Blanche, I'm sorry.
If in doubt, use Comic Sans.
Yeah. Oh, we've got some like music fonts, web things.
Very useful for typing out commands.
So if you were to use a font like this, when you actually release the add-on, does this get packaged up as one of the assets?
No, you would have to add an asset, and then instead of just putting in the path in here, put the path into the asset, and then it will be packaged up.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So just connect the asset node to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that in a second if you want to keep that font, I guess, for exporting. Yeah, but if you want, I think it might do some weird stuff. Actually, not sure. So just enable the modal again and the overlays. And if you just move around the editor a bit, yeah, it just stays at that point.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the event where we added where we passed in the location, that was the mouse region. So it was the location of the mouse at that point. So like bottom left being 0, 0, and bottom right, whatever the size of that editor is.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is to convert the mouse region to the coordinates of nodes. Like the nodes have 0, 0 at some point in the editor, and when you move around, 0, 0 stays at that point, but the locations inside the area will be the same. 0, 0 will always be bottom left. So we want to convert the locations from the region coordinates to the view coordinates at the point where we're passing them to the operator. So we have a node for that, which should be called like region to view.
Oh, we don't even have to do the maths? Nice.
It's actually, there's a function very broken in that you have to multiply it with the scale of the UI at 2 different points.
Oh no.
So we just package that up into a node because it's something that people use a lot. So if you just connect the mouse region in here. And then the, yeah, exactly, just drop that in there and change that. Then it will convert the region coordinates to the view coordinates. Yeah, because we added those comments before, those still have the same location.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to just re-add them. Actually, I don't know where they are. Okay, so yeah, we're saving the location that we clicked on or that we pressed the shortcut on. But now for actually drawing the text, we need to convert it back because we want to draw it inside the area. So in here we need a view to region just to convert it back, and that should make it stick to the right point.
Should it be, region to view, view to region? Okay. Oh, nice. They actually stick now. Cool.
Yeah, and if you add a new one now, so if you just press that shortcut to add one, should also add it in that space, in that location. It's up there.
Is this because of my viewport scaling?
I don't think it should be. If it's sticking to the right space, then I'm missing something right now. By the way, you can disable the cursor changing on the modal. If you go to the left to the modal operator node, you can just change the cursor to default.
Oh, nice. That's a bit more comfortable. Cool.
All right, let's think about this then, I guess.
Let me try changing my viewport scaling here, just in case.
Yes, I just check the test setup.
I know Blender's coordinates are not that great. Like Node Wrangler frequently misdraws its overlays.
Yeah. Yeah. Work. Oh. Gee. Wait, so when we're adding the oh, that would be in the modal at the bottom, I think. Yeah, region to view. So that's the location at that point in the node editor. So that should be correct. And then we're converting it back to region coordinates for drawing. Yeah, that should be right. If you just add in another comment, does it get added at the same spot, or does it get added like somewhere differently? It's some different in a wrong spot.
It goes elsewhere.
Well, I actually don't know what we're missing right now.
That's fine. Could it be to do with maybe like the step size or the precision of how we're storing the location?
Should be fine.
Mm.
Let me check what I have set. Yeah, no, I have just the defaults as well. I mean, it could have to do with like different screen sizes, but it's unlikely. Like if it's actually sticking to the right place, it's just like offset very far.
Yeah.
Then
Is there a way for us to view the coordinates of them?
What do you mean view the coordinates of what?
I don't know if that would actually help with anything, because I guess they're all relative to each other. I was just thinking
Yeah, I mean, you can plug in the region coordinates output to the text input instead of the text, and that will just show the.
Oh yeah.
Those. Okay, yeah, so they're actually changing a bit. Oh wait, that actually makes sense because they're showing the region coordinates and not the view coordinates, so they should be changing.
If anybody wants to help us debug, feel free to buy the add-on in the description below.
I mean, this kind of works. It's kind of a surprise where it's getting added, but the rest works.
Best sales pitch.
Yeah,
There we go.
Confusing.
That's all right. We can carry on with it. I think debugging is just part and parcel with developing anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so one thing we can do is to, like, if you zoom out quite far, then you will see that the text size stays the same. And I don't know, maybe you wanted to be that way, but we could like make it scale with the zoom level.
Yeah, that would probably be good, because otherwise you're just going to overlap everything.
Right. Yeah, so we have a view zoom, I think it's called, maybe.
2D view zoom.
Something with zoom in the name. We don't have that many zoom names. There we go. 2D view zoom. So basically we have the font size input here, and we just want to change the size depending on the zoom level. So now we're getting to do some math. It's just multiplying, but yeah. Our math node is a bit different from the Blender one. You can like basically add as many inputs as you want, and it will perform the operation on all of them. And we have a lot less, but instead we have the option to enter an expression. So you can actually type in with the names of the inputs here what operations you want to do.
Nice.
Yeah, and does this just want to multiply, so we can.
Can you generate custom inputs, or is it
yeah, I mean that variable doesn't exist. So.
Okay.
Only the names of the inputs you put in, but you can like plug in different values and like plug in the value from a different node, I guess.
Yeah.
And it will use the variable name. Yeah, but we just want to multiply some size by the zoom level. And you need to restart the modal.
Oh, of course. Oh, that's probably like too much.
Maybe 15 or something worked for me.
Nice. Yeah, that works perfectly.
Yeah, and we could like add another property and like change change the size for the comments independently. Yeah, but let's figure the rest out first, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I guess it's mostly working apart from
Yeah, the only thing which is throwing
showing
off
up in like random
is
spots.
would it? I mean, is it possible to? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you have another idea, we can try that. But if you like just want to export the add-on, and I try it on my screen just to see like if it's actually an issue with the screen, or if we just mess something up in like how we're saving locations and so on. Yeah. So I guess you probably need to. I guess if it's a default Windows, no, you might have to remove the font because I don't have that.
I think it is probably a default one. I'll just go for the default.
Yeah, it's just it shows you your file path. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And could have worked.
All right, there you go. Yeah, my screen size is like, I think it's a 1440p, so maybe not super common. People normally have like 4K or 1080p.
Yeah, I think like the scale is doing something like combining the Windows screen scale with the Blender UI scale, so it's a bit messy.
Oh yeah, I have 125% Windows scaling as well. That might be a problem. Blanche in the comments said that the offset's happening for them as well.
Okay. What was the shortcut you said for adding a comment?
Oh, Shift T.
Okay, interesting.
Is it happening for you as well?
No, it's working. Yeah, no, it's working fine for me.
Let me try and
So
change
it is
my...
a screen scale thing. If you have it set to 25% and like multiply something by 4 or divide something by 4, maybe that could work as well. Like it seems to be moving a lot to like the top right. So if you just divide it by 4, maybe that just happens to be in the right spot. I guess it wouldn't work for other screen scales, of course, but just as a test to see if that's actually a thing breaking it.
Oh, so I've gone back to 100% scaling, and that was still offset. Seems to maybe be less offset. Oh my god, how do people work with it this small? So used to my big screen. So with it, standard UI scaling and
It seems to be in the right spot.
Standard Windows scaling, yeah.
Windows scaling. I mean, it should actually be taking at least the Blender scaling into account. Okay, yeah, let's say, let's just set your settings back to the defaults, and then we can try to make it work on your screen by like just dividing it by 4, I guess.
Do you want me to set it to what I normally have, or to just 1 to 1? Yeah,
just try to figure it out like for your screen scaling, and
sure.
I will have to look into the like different Windows screen scales. This is kind of weird because like on my laptop, which is like a very weird but like very big resolution, it also worked fine. So I just like tested it on 2 screens. So I really don't know.
It must just be
confusing.
My window scaling just throwing things off.
Yeah.
Oh, have I done something?
Is this still showing up?
Shift T is no longer bringing up my pop-up.
Oh, because I think the size is set to 3.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's
I see.
yeah, it should be size of 2. And it's the kind of pretty spent with modal errors, but that's okay. Okay, so it's still moving a lot.
But at least we found the issue. It's window scaling combined with Blender scaling.
Well, what's your window scaling set to?
So 125.
Right, yeah, I guess just maybe trying to lower that value.
If I do that. No. All right.
Getting closer.
Yeah, I don't know where that one actually went.
Yeah, I guess you should probably multiply before you convert.
So should the window scaling happen before and then the Blender scaling happen afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it's well, actually, I don't know, because it's maybe the Windows screen scaling should happen before, and the Blender scaling should actually happen automatically. So actually, maybe you changing the Blender UI scale just like improved it, because it like it still took it into account, but your mouse was just in a different spot. So oh, did that just crash? That's not
Yeah, I
good.
think I had the modal thing still running. There we go. All right. Let me just, I'm going to set everything back to 100%. We can scale, we can zoom in on the nodes, so that should be fine. There we go. Did my Discord crash?
All right.
Oh no, we're still good. Okay.
So sorry. Okay. Yeah, I guess we could try to figure something out to like do it automatically, but maybe if you change the, but like let's just test that it's working right now if everything is set to like 100%.
How is
Interesting. Oh, it's not showing.
My buttons disappeared. Node overlay. It's just, there we go. There we go. Cool. That's working now.
Okay, so if you change your Blender UI scale now, if it's still working then it's just the Windows.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's because I keep loading these.
Oh, I guess that's because of the modal.
The modal, yeah.
But it.
Okay, so 130. it's getting thrown off for the UI scale as well.
Well, yeah, I think we'll have to that everyone has to work out every time they want to use those. So
Blanche just put the window scaling and the Blender scaling properties.
System resolution. What system would that be on? I mean, yeah, we can access the UI scale, but I don't know if it's yeah, I don't know if you can access the Windows scale and like if that's different on Mac and stuff.
Oh, if it's I see what you mean. Yeah.
But the yeah, we can use the UI scale at least to. It works when you have the scale set to 100%. But did you ever use the Node Preview add-on? Like which shows the little images above shader nodes?
Yeah, that one works for me.
Because I think it's using the same code. I actually asked the dev there to like what they the same code now. So that's yeah weird.
How would I make this print? Do I need an execute, don't I, on the print, just so I can see?
Yeah, you can. There's a trigger node for debugging. Basically, it's
Sweet.
just a button on a node to run something.
Nice. So yeah, 1.3.
Yeah, so 1.3 with a little bit of a float error.
And then this wants to go in after my mouse region? Or does it want to go after my mouse window?
No, I mean the window would be like bottom left being like the bottom left of the Blender window. We definitely want to convert the position from the region, so the like just in the node editor. But yeah.
Oh, it feels close. Calypsy just dropped a note in the chat. You can actually attach the draw calls to the pixel level or the view level, so attaching the draw handler to the view post view makes the position automatically default to the view space.
Well, we don't really have access to that because it's actually I don't think it would matter in this case because we're the initial position of where we're putting the comment is wrong, and not the position of where we're drawing it. I think. Yeah.
Maybe. But let's just try and push this up on the other end. Because at least we can just correct the offset if it's consistent.
Right.
Well, now we've just got parallax. Still getting an offset, but that's fine. Should we put on a way for us to actually view what's in this collection of groups so that we can like remove some or edit the text that's in them?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so yeah, if we want to put that in the end panel, we can just add in a panel node.
Oh, an add to panel or just
and then
panel?
you can. No, I mean, if you want to add it to an existing panel, you can do that, but you can also just create your own.
Oh, okay.
So if you click the eyedropper here, and then under Serpens, if you go at the uppercase one, at the top,
Oh, I
go all the
see.
way. Yeah, this one. There you get a button. And this you have this input for the name of the category on the panel, so you can give it a different name. So this is the label, the label of that panel, and the category would be where it shows up on the right there. So you can put it in an existing tab or just create a new one. Yeah. Okay, so in here we want to display our collection of comments again. So we basically do the same thing as we did for drawing the text, where we go over all the items in the collection, just that this time we want like a for loop, an interface instead of an execute loop.
And then our collection just comes via that Serpens properties.
And that's just not from a property group, because we want to get the collection.
Oh, of course.
So that's just comments, right?
And then
yeah, so now for every item we can like choose how we want to draw it. So maybe if you just like there's a couple of different nodes to like do different layouts. So we have like box nodes, row nodes, column nodes. I think maybe a box node would be yeah, good. So we can like create a box around every comment and just set it up to the repeat output, and you should already see like all the boxes being shown. And now you also get multiple outputs on the box node where you can display different things again. So for example, the text properties. So you can use a display property node to draw that.
Display property. Oh, cool. Okay.
So now you're displaying actually the as well. So when you change an input here, it will actually update the label as well. So you probably want to put in like text or just nothing.
Yeah.
And then and I guess below the location then.
And I just do this with another. Oh, nice. Oh, and these are editable now.
Yep. So the display property node actually
you could
like shows the inputs, while like a label would only show the value of that input.
Yeah. You can parameterize basically all of this data then in your groups, and then each one of the text blocks will have, or each one of the comments can have like its own text color, and then this can just feed through into the drawing and as well onto your actual UI.
Yep. So if you want, we can like quickly do the.
Yeah, let's do a color.
Yeah, so you just add a new property to your collection here. And a color is just a float vector. So change the type to float again. And then vector, and like depending on if you want alpha or not. Actually, I think you need alpha for the like I think the modal text can have alpha, so just enable that.
Does an existing object,
and then the last thing you need to do to actually
will this get so like any of the comments we've already made, will this now also have this color attribute?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It will. And it will have the default value you put in there. Yeah, but you can, if you just display that in the in our panel now.
Nice.
Then you see it's showing the 4 values. So we actually need to go back to our property and set the subtype. So some of the so in the end panel. So yeah, some of the properties have subtypes. So we can like tell it to show it as a color, or tell it to show it as like some kind of different unit, like I don't know, as a scale or something.
Yeah.
And actually, if you change the color on one of them, you will see one more issue.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, so if you
say that again. Sorry, you just broke up.
Sorry, just for one of the colors, change like the alpha slider. Yeah, so we need to set a minimum and a maximum for the float. So we can also do that on the property.
That's just on the alpha though.
Yeah, the RGB is also has the same issue. Just the value is not actually like the value you're setting. It's kind of transferring that, I guess. Yeah, but now that should work, and now we just need to actually draw our text in that color.
And to do that, so I don't. This part here where we make the thing, we don't need to worry about color there. I guess we just need to add it to this section. So just with another property.
Right. Like if you wanted to set a color when you create the comment, you could do that down there. But you can also just display it and have it change in the end panel. So use the value output here because you want to get the actual float vector.
And does this just connect directly?
Should work.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also a float vector. It's just like color is just that, so it's just converting it.
Nice. All right, so one last thing to do to these comments. How do we remove a comment? How do we delete one of them?
Yeah, so we probably wanted to like have a button next to like each of these text items. So we can just start by actually adding that button. Probably, I guess we just want like a trash can icon or something next to a text input. So we would want to put that in the same row as the text input, not just like a button underneath.
Yeah.
So you can add in a row node as like before the displaying that text property. Yep. And then if you connect the button up to that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then you can just remove the label on that and choose an icon. And yeah, turn off emboss too. It's all right, there you go.
All right.
So now we need to create an operator to delete an item. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
just
So yeah, let's just start by yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just a new operator. Right, and in that operator we want to remove a collection item. So just like we have add collection item, we also have remove collection item. So yeah.
And we're removing by.
And we have a right. So we have a couple of different ways to remove collection items. First by index, and that's just starting at 0 the collections in that list, or by item, where you can actually pass in like property input, or all, just gets rid of all comments. We want to remove by index, and then we want to pass in the index from that button into our operator, because we want to use the same operator, but we want to do it. We want to have it do different things for the different items.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we want to use index, and we need to, we need to plug in our collection here again. The Serpens property node.
So that's add-on comments like that.
Right, and then so right. I don't know if you did that. Just on the button of the where you're showing the remove icon.
On
selecting that operator. Custom.
Oh yeah, of course. This one's the remove operator.
So now if you click one of those buttons, it will just always remove the item with index 0. So it will always remove the first comment. So we need to pass in the comment we want to remove with that button by creating a property on the operator, and that will just be an integer property to pass in the index that we're at in the loop.
All right.
So that should now show up on the button. Well, you can connect it first, yeah.
All right, I can just do.
Yeah, no, that's the button on there is for copying the Python name. So like if you wanted to write a custom script and use that in your operator, you could copy the name here and then use that in the script.
That makes sense.
We should probably have different icons for that, actually. Yeah.
Right, so it's got that one, and then I need it. Oh wait, do I connect that up to the button?
If you look at your for loop, no, because like this is the so you have the output here on the for loop, where you like for every item in the collection of comments, you get the item and the index, and for that index we want to run the remove operator, so you just plug that into the input here.
That makes sense.
And now in the operator you use the Serpens property node that you added to get that index that you're passing in, and plug that into remove collection to remove the item with that index.
And is that that's the whole operator?
That's it.
I know I shouldn't be surprised that this works, but it's like, it's nuts that this is like just nodes as well to make to do like UI and add-ons and just like make it all work together.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean,
I know you're used to it, but it's.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a bit.
Yeah, I bet. When did you start working on Serpens?
good question. Released it in 2020, I think maybe 2020, like middle of, yeah, sounds about right. So like almost 2 years, I guess.
That doesn't sound
Yeah.
like very long to have come up with something that's like, you have so much going on in here. And also it's quite
Oh,
established.
it was very easy to come up with it.
Oh, really?
It's just making it, you know.
Yeah. How much of
No, it's
Serpens did you make with Serpens?
0.
Ah,
Actually,
okay.
to be honest, some of the things, because like when you're adding stuff to the interface, you're using like add to panel and this kind of stuff, it's really annoying to do when you don't have Serpens, because figuring out the name, like the internal Python name of a panel that you want to add stuff to, it's like really annoying sometimes. And with Serpens, it's just like clicking eyedropper.
Yeah.
So sometimes I use that to just to figure out the name. But like the actual code is all separate.
Mm-hmm.
If we're at the point when you can write Serpens with Serpens, then it's, I mean, that's just impressive. I don't think we'll get there. That's just
I believe you will.
too much like logic stuff, which like just writing algorithms and stuff, which I mean, we don't have too many algorithms, but just like text manipulation and so on is just annoying to do with nodes.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas like this UI stuff and so on is awesome. Maybe one thing you can do is on the box node, there should be an option called like split UI or something.
No.
Split layout. And it just like displays it in the Blender way, like aligning everything to the right.
Nice. Yeah.
Still showing up in random locations.
I mean, it's just, yeah, slightly.
But
These, so
almost.
these, is it possible to change the, I guess the resolution of this slider if people were making
Yes, so
UI
you would
elements?
probably, yeah, you'd probably want to change like the soft minimum and soft maximum. So if you go to the like group property and the location, then you have the step, which I think like you can try changing the step, but I think that's just I mean, I guess it's kind of the position as well. I mean, you can just play around with all of these. But I think soft minimum and soft maximum will like limit it to, let's say, like minus 100 to plus 100, and then when you drag above that, it will still be like dragging with that range in mind or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You can just try them out.
Oh, so actually changing the precision, does it change the way that the information is stored, or does it just change the UI?
I think it's changing the way it's stored. At least it's changing the way you're getting the value. So like whenever you get the value anywhere, not just displaying it in the UI, but also like using it for calculations or whatever. It's also getting with that precision. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I guess we could make it like integers, and it would be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe if you enable soft minimum and soft maximum, so those are basically just like limits which you can override by clicking in the field and typing something else, like minus 100 to plus 100 or something. You know, like just to change the range. Maybe that will change the way the dragging works. Dragging it works. Like if you set it like a lot lower, the soft maximum.
Yeah, I mean, it'll just limit it when I hit the limit, the soft limit. But I can still type outside.
But you can, you'll just have to click and add and type something else.
Awesome. All right. Well, was there anything else that you had in mind that you wanted to share with to share with the class today about Serpens?
No, I'm good. If there are like questions, I'm happy to like stay around if you have anything you want to do. But we haven't figured out the scaling thing, but well.
The Blanche, portals. Let's have a look at portals. How do we add portals? Is it like a hidden node collection? Is that how a portal works?
It's basically just a node which would make sense. Actually, it would make sense in a lot of places, but yeah, so basically you have this node which you can plug in any data into, and then you can give it a name. So like it generates with a random number, but you can like type in a name which actually tells you what data you're passing in. Yeah, and so basically you can just like use that output node wherever now and skip linking them up.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice. In Sverchok there's nodes called Wi-Fi nodes, and I guess they're basically the same as like a terminate, send it via Python to somewhere else.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, that's super useful. I always miss that in geometry nodes with doing really long connections. If anybody in the comments has any questions for Josh. And also just a reminder that the links are down in the description if you would like to purchase Serpens. It's definitely worth it. It's so powerful. And as well, Josh, do you have anywhere like a Discord server or a Twitter community or something where you help support Serpens?
Yeah, we have a Discord server. So actually, in the top right of the add-on, you have the button to go to the Discord server. But yeah, it's also linked on the store page and so on. So if you just want to try and see what people are making, then go ahead.
I will also add that one to the video description. But yeah, there we go. Thanks so much everybody for joining us, and thanks Josh for helping me and walking me through this session. I know it was probably a little bit slower than you're used to working, but it was really great to get to see.
Oh well, you actually
There's so much that Serpens.
Yeah, you were actually a lot faster than a lot
really?
of. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of the concepts pretty quickly, I think. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what you'll come up with, either with Serpens or making your own add-ons.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Sam, for jumping in. And yeah, Blanche as well. Thanks for sitting in the chat and giving us tips and things. Blanche, do you do streams as well? I saw you mentioning some streams in the chat. Do you do Serpent streams?
We did like a couple for the yeah.
On the Discord. Yeah. There we go. I've added the Serpens Discord link to the description as well. Yeah, Blanche SB does streams and has YouTube videos for beginners, so definitely check them out as well if you are interested in learning more about Serpens. And definitely get Serpens as well. Like the new add-on with all the modal stuff that you can now do, just seems definitely very addictive for making tools. And yeah, I've seen so many people with node packs and things that should be wrapped up and sold. It's a exciting time to be in Blender and making stuff.
Yeah, we actually have a demo version.
Oh, really?
Like try installing the add-on and just play it around a little bit with some of the UI nodes. It's a bit limited in what it can do. It doesn't have all of the options and think you can't export an add-on or something. It's just to like show, just play around with it, just get a feel for it to see if it's for you or not.
And is that available on the
Yeah.
Gum? Oh yeah. So in the Gumroad link, you can find the free demo version there. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna wrap up the stream now, folks. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thank you again, Josh. I hope you all have a great weekend. I'm gonna wrap it up now. Oh yeah, Blanche, for sure. Feel free to release or give away anything from today's session. I will as well. I'll package these zips up and I'll drop them up on Gumroad. All right, I'm going to end the stream. See you later, folks.